Chapter 952. Your Honor, should we get rid of him? He actually dares to come here and cause trouble. Lai Gu, who was at the side, said gravely. To actually come here and cause trouble to his Honor's execution ground, he is simply courting death. Yi Hua paused for a moment, then said unhurriedly, there's no rush, let's take a look first. No matter what, he came from that spirit city, and this can be considered as the first time we met. Back then there were many overlords who hid in Spirit City. Wei Chong said in a low voice, did this person from the Spirit City discover us? Or, did they really beg for it? Won't you know later? Yi Hua said faintly. Things have become interesting, there is actually someone who wants to stop me from killing people. I hope that more of you will come, otherwise it will spoil my mood. As the rainbow light descended, a figure could be vaguely seen. This caused Yi Hua to go into a daze. Not bad, only one person actually came. Yi Hua laughed lightly. It seems like the enemy is looking down on me a bit, only one person came. All of Yi Hua's subordinates who were standing behind Yi Hua revealed out a sinister smile. To think that only one person came, I really don't know what to say. Who should go up and tear this person to pieces? Let these death row prisoners know that even God can't save them. Gradually, the rainbow-colored light faded away. A man was floating in the air. Furthermore, this caused Yi Hua and the others to be stupefied. He is actually showing his honors back. Where did your confidence come from? And that hairstyle, it was actually permed with tinfoil, and the way you put your hands in your pockets, are you really serious? For a person to be able to be in such a state, this guy must have trained. Furthermore, he was actually wearing a flamboyant red robe. From this point alone, it could be seen that this fellow was a slut. 100% sure. At the very least, he is even more coquettish than his honor. Although the man's back was facing Yi Hua, his front was facing the others. But now, everyone was looking at this man who had descended from the sky. Even the prisoners kneeling on the ground were looking at him. However, everyone's gaze was different. It was as if they had seen a ghost. Yi Hua and his subordinates also noticed this situation, and all of them were a bit curious. Your Honor, this is a bit strange. Luo Ho said in a low voice. Yi Hua felt the same way too. Everyone seems to be acting abnormally. Just what is going on? Why did the expressions of those death row prisoners change? Wasn't this person supposed to be their savior? Why were their gazes filled with despair again, while the others were filled with surprise? At this moment, the red-robed man was in the same situation. Just now, when he was taking a stroll, he suddenly felt someone praying to him. This kind of praying happened quite often, but he ignored it. However, he was a little bored, so he came down to see what was going on. At the same time, he wanted to raise his status. As expected, along with me descending, those people were all stupefied. However, it was only for a moment, and soon after, the expressions in those people's eyes began to change. From admiration to astonishment, or from hope to despair. Did you see a ghost? I Yi Juetian am a man with both looks and looks. Hurry up and retract your gazes. I Yi Juetian do not need to be like this. Alright, since you guys think like this, then just reveal it. I Yi Juetian will accept it all. This charm of mine that has no place to hide will cause a commotion wherever I go. However, the one behind me seems to be the main character, right? You guys should just admire the broad shoulders of I Yi Juetian. This kind of loftiness is not something you guys can achieve. But then again, this was an execution and there were quite a few of them. It was savage enough. I Yi Juetian like you. Then let me Yi Juetian see just what kind of person is so cruel, see if he is even half as handsome as me Yi Juetian. If there is 20%, I will just casually kill a few of you today. If there is 50%, I will just casually kill a few of you today and leave your corpse intact. This idea is not bad. I Yi Juetian am still too benevolent. This damned benevolence of mine, I should have gotten rid of it long ago. Yi Juetian could be seen slowly turning around. Yi Hua also looked at this flamboyant man who turned around. If you scare me, I will immediately insta-kill you. However, when Yi Hua saw Yi Juetian, it was as if he had seen a ghost. Not only was Yi Hua frightened, all of his subordinates were frightened as well. Yi Juetian was the same as well, it was as if he had seen a ghost. Time seemed to have stopped at this moment. Everyone did not dare to believe everything that was happening before their eyes. Yi Hua and Yi Juetian looked too similar. It was as if they were carved out from the same mold, except for one thing. And that was the difference in their expressions. Yi Hua's face was filled with coldness, while Yi Juetian's face was filled with a coquettish aura. That's right. Other than their expressions, the two of them were practically exactly the same. All of Yi Hua's subordinates were a bit unable to use their brains. Who is this person? Could it be that he is his honor's long-lost brother? How is this possible? I have followed his honor for 1,000 years and his honor is an undead, so how could he possibly have a brother? This is too nonsensical, this is completely impossible to believe. Yi Hua was indeed shocked right now. This person looks exactly the same as me, this is truly like seeing a ghost. Yi Juetian's mind was in a bit of a mess. This person, why does he look so much like my big brother? That coldness in between his brows, that coolness in his eyes, he is simply exactly the same as me. This is impossible, Big Brother had already gone missing 1,000 years ago and furthermore he had gone missing during a great battle. A lot of people had seen that Big Brother had fallen, it is impossible for him to still be alive. Then who is this person? Yi Juetian rubbed his eyes, then slapped onto his cheeks, then pinched onto his waist. It was so painful that his eyes rolled back. Yi Hua discovered that this was the truth. Big brother. Big brother? Yi Hua was confused. This fellow recognized me as his big brother right away. I, the Supreme Overlord, am not like Lai Gu who taught you how to comb your hair. The group of subordinates at the back felt that this fellow was a swindler. After realizing that he couldn't win, he casually recognized me as his big brother. Simply shameless, I thought that this fellow was someone important, but in the end I didn't expect that. When everyone heard what Yi Hua said, they were a bit stupefied. A deity actually called the Emperor Big Brother? F***K, what is this situation? With a deity as your backing, wouldn't you, the Emperor, be able to do whatever you want? The 10,000 death row inmates that were kneeling on the ground were in despair. After inviting for so long, we actually managed to invite a little brother. How are we supposed to endure this? Why did such a person appear? Can we do it again? You, this little brother, go up first, we will summon him again. Big brother, is it really you? Yi Juetian's voice carried a trace of nervousness, and even his hands were trembling. Yi Hua's brows tightly wrinkled, he didn't feel that this was a good situation. However, the subordinates discovered that this man's expression seemed as if he had really seen his big brother. Look at that extremely shocked expression of his. If this is an act, isn't this too real? Chapter 953. Yi Juetian was very excited. He was even more surprised than if he had seen a ghost. She walked towards Yi Hua step by step, and she looked as if she was looking at her long-lost wife. When the group of subordinates saw Yi Juetian's appearance, they all revealed vigilance. It seemed like as long as this guy dared to take another step forward, they would send him back the way he came. Don't think that just because you call me big brother, his honor will teach you how to comb your hair. Yi Juetian sensed the vigilance of these people and stopped in his tracks. This is my big brother. Yi Juetian hurriedly explained. One shouldn't fight one's own people. However, the entire guillotine was watching the reunion. Now the script was very clear. This god that descended from the sky should be the emperor's little brother. However, the big brother didn't know the little brother. From this, it could be seen that things should be very melodramatic. This big brother was supposed to be a god, but for some reason he came down. However, his family thought that he was dead. However, by chance the younger brother descended from the sky and discovered that the elder brother was still alive. That should be it. In that case, Wuxia Empire would have the backing of a god. That would be extremely awesome. Who in the Kangluo continent would dare to offend them? Yi Hua needs someone to be his backing, and I am his strongest backing. For the prisoners who knelt down, their faces were ashen. No one could save them today. Lai Gu berated angrily, who is your big brother? Don't think that just because you look like me you can casually call me big brother. Zhou Xian also followed up and said, that's right, who knows whether or not you are a spy and are pretending to be one of us. I'm really not a spy. Look at my face, isn't it a slap? After saying that, Yi Juetian started to slap his own face. In order to prove his innocence, he was simply slapping his own face. What a savage man. He was about to slap his own butt. Yi Hua was a little stupefied. This fellow doesn't seem to be joking. His subordinates also felt the same way. Yi Juetian looked at Yi Hua and said agitatedly, big brother, I little Tian, we are born from the same mother. You are my blood-related big brother. Yi Hua found it hard to believe, and his gaze revealed a rarely seen look of surprise. I can't figure out if this person is real or fake. If it was a fake, he could just kill it. But what if it was true? In the past, Yi Hua had also thought about one thing. How did an undead become an undead? Since they had skeletons, that meant that they had corporeal bodies in the past. So before, he was a human, a living human, but everyone had forgotten that it was useless to use a powerful cultivation technique. This was something that couldn't be helped. There were some things that the heavenly Dao could not change. Yi Juetian also could not believe it. He had casually come down and actually met his big brother. His luck was too good. His eldest brother was the pride of the Yi family back in the day, and he was a famous existence in the whole of Spirit City. The Yi family was also a huge family in Spirit City, and he was the sixth brother. He had come out 20 years later than his eldest brother. It could be said that he grew up watching his big brother's stalwart figure, and he was inspired to become a man like his big brother since he was young. He was such a pretentious man, but he couldn't learn it no matter how hard he tried. Big brother's pretentiousness was like a passive skill hidden in his blood. All the ladies in spiritual capital wanted to marry her big brother no matter what. Although she looked exactly like her big brother, they were worlds apart. However, if a person was too outstanding, they would be envied. The brothers in the Yi family were not united. His father's generation was like this, and his generation was also like this. Back then, his big brother led an army to fight against Demonic City, but he never returned. His big brother's army was wiped out, and in the end someone ran back and said that his big brother was dead. The Yi family's big brother was dead. This shook the whole Spirit City, and even the whole Spirit City was filled with promissory notes. Countless young ladies' hearts were shattered, and it was even said that some young ladies committed suicide. Even his mother fell sick, and even after 1,000 years she could not accept her son's death. Yi Juetian also did not believe it. His big brother was like a god of war, and he won every battle. When he returned home with glory, the first thing he did was to find his mother and tell her that he had returned safely. His big brother was a filial son, a good brother, and also a good husband. However, it was a pity that the incomparably beautiful sister-in-law had just married his big brother, and before they could consummate their marriage, his big brother had gone to war and never returned. Just like that, his sister-in-law became a widow for 1,000 years. If she knew that his big brother was not dead, she would definitely faint from crying. After all, his big brother and sister-in-law were childhood friends, and their relationship was quite deep. At that time they were not married yet, and every time his big brother went to war, his sister-in-law would kneel in the temple and pray to the heavens. She would kneel until his big brother returned, and no one could stop her. And every time his big brother returned, he would go to see his sister-in-law after meeting his mother. His sister-in-law also used this method to open up his big brother's cold heart. Even though it had been 1,000 years, he still remembered how happy his sister-in-law had been that day. She had finally married his big brother, and it had not been easy. One had to know that his sister-in-law had chased after his big brother for 1,000 years, and even if his big brother's heart was made of stone, it should have melted. Luckily, it still melted in the end, and his sister-in-law had finally married the person she liked. His big brother was envied and jealous again. After all, a woman like his sister-in-law was really rare, and even the other brothers of the Yi family would go crazy from jealousy. His sister-in-law was praised as the most beautiful woman in Spirit City, and there was no one who could compare. However, it was this woman who chased after his big brother for 1,000 years, and even the emperor was jealous, but there was nothing he could do about it. Who asked his big brother to be so useful? Big brother was always the one who went to war and killed the enemies. Big brother was always the one who charged at the forefront. There was another time when his big brother came back injured, and his entire arm was dripping with blood. That was the first time he saw his sister-in-law getting angry. She scolded his big brother and then applied medicine for his big brother while crying, and then ignored his big brother for an entire month. But then his big brother went to war again, and his sister-in-law went to the temple to pray. Women, I really can't understand them. But to this day his sister-in-law was still praying to the heavens in the temple. 1,000 years was like a day, and she had never given up even for a day. This kind of infatuation was finally repaid today. His sister-in-law's prayers were repaid. His big brother was really still alive, and he was standing right in front of him. He was exactly the same as back then, and there was no change at all. That cold gaze, that expressionless face, it was just that his hairstyle had changed, but he still looked as handsome as before. If I were to tell his sister-in-law about today's news, my God, I wonder how she would react. His sister-in-law is so pitiful. The heavens have blessed me. Back then Yi Hua was an undead, but why was he stronger than other undead when he cultivated? In the end it was still his own advantage. Back then Yi Hua was a powerful overlord. Chapter 954. Furthermore, he was the youngest overlord who wouldn't be envious. Especially those brothers at home. Right now, Yi Juetian was still suspecting if it was done by second brother and third brother. In any case, anyone could have done it, even the emperor could have done it. After all, back then Big Brother's contributions surpassed the emperor's. If Big Brother was given time, it was even possible for him to become an overlord in the future. Right now Yi Hua was a bit confused. He didn't know if this fellow was real at all, but his appearance was right there. Could it be that the other two subordinates were doing this? Just like Juetian back then, creating a fake to comfort me? But to create such a coquettish one? Suddenly Yi Hua thought of a method. If what this fellow said was true, there should be a reaction from his bloodline. Yi Hua slowly stretched out his finger, and a drop of blood could be seen flowing out from Yi Juetian's forehead. This caused Yi Juetian to be shocked. I didn't expect Big Brother to become stronger after so many years. I actually didn't sense it at all. But looking at Big Brother, he seemed to want to confirm, why did Big Brother lose his memories? Just what happened back then? A drop of blood could be seen flowing out from Yi Hua's forehead. The two drops of blood gradually moved closer to each other, and both of them emitted an astonishing aura. From this, it could be seen that Yi Juetian's strength was not to be underestimated. Everyone looked at the two drops of blood in the air, feeling very nervous. Especially the tens of thousands of people kneeling on the ground. If they fused, they would all die today. If they didn't fuse, they could still be saved. However, the other people were thinking that they must definitely fuse with Voidless Empire. That way Voidless Empire would have a powerful backing. But to the subordinates, as long as they didn't fuse, they would immediately kill them. They were definitely swindlers. Right now Yi Hua was also very nervous. If they fused, then what he said would be true. I am still in this world. I still have relatives. To Yi Hua, relatives were things that he didn't dare to hope for. Of course, it was in the past. Right now he had relatives, his loved ones, his children, and a group of loyal subordinates. These were all his relatives. But mother. This was the reason why Yi Hua was nervous. To be honest, Yi Hua hoped that they didn't fuse. If that was the case, he would be able to kill this swindler. I don't have any mother, I don't have any brothers. I don't want to find out about my background because that is definitely not a good thing. The two drops of blood gradually moved closer to each other, as if they were sizing each other up. At this moment, everyone's heart became nervous, and Yi Hua was the same as well. Yi Hua basically wouldn't feel nervous at all. Yi Hua was pleasantly surprised to see such an emotion. I feel that this is pretty good. There is actually something that can make me nervous. Two drops of blood floated out as if they were intimately caressing each other. Then they held each other like they were holding hands. Then came a hug. They had fused. Turned into a drop of blood. At this moment the entire world became silent. Yi Hua was also dumbstruck. How is this possible? I actually have a blood brother. And his mother. The subordinates who were standing behind his honor were all stupefied. Is this man really his honor's brother? This is too fake. This isn't a dream, right? The person kneeling on the ground was already pale. However, the others cheered. This was a scene of brothers reuniting with tears. Shouldn't they give each other a big hug now? It was too awesome. Yi Juetian let out a sigh of relief, then looked at Yi Hua with a joyous expression as if he was saying, Big brother, now that things have come to this, you should believe me, right? However, after Yi Hua's astonishment, his expression gradually sunk. He didn't feel happy because of this matter. On the contrary, he felt very unhappy in his heart after knowing the truth. As for why he felt unhappy, Yi Hua didn't know either. Yi Juetian directly landed in front of Yi Hua, and the subordinates didn't stop him. After all, this was his honor's blood brother. When the two of them stood together, other than their hairstyles, it was really hard to recognize them. Of course, there was also their bearing. Tie him up, Yi Hua said gravely. Yi Juetian was prepared to give Yi Hua a big hug, but in the end he had a stupefied expression on his face. Did I hear wrongly just now? Even the subordinates felt the same. Tie him up. Did I hear wrongly? I told you all to tie him up, are you deaf? Yi Hua shouted out coldly. Lai Gu and Wei Chang's expressions sunk, and the two of them held on to Yi Juetian from the left and right. Big brother. What are you doing? I am little Tian, you even taught me martial arts in the past, you should think about it again. Yi Juetian hurriedly said. He felt that his big brother was very strange. In the past, Big Brother was just a rock, but right now Big Brother is just like a rock that has a layer of ice on it, and it is so cold that it makes one shiver. Yihua didn't even turn his head around as he said in a low voice, "Who are you? I will slowly make you tell me clearly, but right now I still have important things to do." Everyone was a bit stupefied. Why did the emperor capture his blood brother without saying anything? Just what kind of plot is this? Shouldn't he be giving Yihua a big hug right now and celebrating together with the world? This is how things should be done. Right now Yihua's mind still wasn't clear, so he decided to use the heads of these people to clear his mind, or perhaps to think about what he should do next. Brother and mother that suddenly appeared. I am an undead, how could I have any brother and mother? Even if I had, that would be something that happened in my previous life. I have no relationship with that person in my previous life. Big brother, what are you doing? Being held down by Wei Chong and Lai Gu, Yi Juetian didn't have any other choice. Yihua said faintly, "Killing people." Yi Juetian went into a daze for a moment, then suddenly recalled the reason why he came down here. "Big brother, you want to kill all of these people?" "Yes." "But, Big brother, they are just ordinary people, why do you want to kill them?" Yi Juetian looked at the back view of Yihua in disbelief. In the past, Big Brother loved his people, fought for the sake of his people, and even couldn't bear to see his people being bullied. In my heart, Big Brother is a righteous war god who fights for humanity. But today Big Brother is actually killing people. Is this still the Big Brother that I know? This feeling of disparity caused Yi Juetian to not dare to believe it. Why did Big Brother become so bloodthirsty? Could it be that the people of Shanghai cast a spell on Big Brother? Did the people from Shanghai cast a spell on Big Brother? Yihua said faintly, "Because they made me unhappy." "Big brother, you weren't like this in the past." Yi Juetian shouted out loudly, trying to make Big Brother sober up. "In the past? This has nothing to do with me, don't talk about the past with me." Yihua said gravely, then waved his hand. The yellow armored warriors that were at the very front directly took out their blades, raised them high up, then swung them down. A few hundred heads rolled onto the ground, and with boiling hot blood, the scene was extremely shocking. "Big brother, quickly stop. We are deities." Yi Juetian shouted out. Deities have to protect their people, not kill each other. Chapter 955. Omega 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 Omega, choking with sobs. Novel Yihua turned his head around and looked towards Yi Juetian, then said faintly, "Deity? Go to hell with your god." After saying that, he raised his hand again. Another row of heads fell to the ground. Looking at his big brother's cold gaze, Yi Juetian didn't know what to do. Just what had his big brother experienced over the years to become so savage? If his sister-in-law saw his big brother like this, she would definitely be very disappointed. After all, Big Brother used to be a hero, a great hero. But now he was an executioner wielding a butcher's knife. With every wave of his hand, hundreds of lives would be lost. Even in Lingdu, such a scene was rarely seen in 100 years. It was a massacre. As the people in the last row lost their heads, the whole place was filled with the smell of blood. Yihua slightly closed his eyes, took a deep breath of the fragrance in the air, and his mood became much better. Ignoring his own younger brother, Yihua looked at everyone and said, "From today onwards, I hope that the people of Voidless Empire will be able to live a good life and not do things that will make me uncomfortable. If you are not satisfied, you can scram. Long live the Emperor. Hooray! Long live." 100,000 people shouted in a pious tone. Anyone who wanted to scram had a deity as their lackey. "Big brother, repent and be saved. Put down your knife." Yi Juetian was completely stupefied by the scene in front of him. If this was a war, it wouldn't be scary. What was scary was that some people who didn't even have the strength to truss a chicken were killed. This was a tyrant-style massacre. Yihua looked towards Yi Juetian and said coldly, "If you continue to speak, I will behead you as well. Press them down." "Yes. Big brother, you weren't like this before, big brother. Big brother." Even now, Yi Juetian couldn't believe that his big brother had become the person he hated the most in the past. After Yi Juetian was suppressed, Yihua didn't hurry to leave. "Your Honor, about this matter?" Blood Demon asked respectfully. Yihua pondered for a moment, then said, "Let me lock you up for a few days first. I will think about it." After finished speaking, Yihua left. After Yihua left, all of Yihua's subordinates let out a breath of relief. The atmosphere just now was so oppressive, I feel that His Honor is about to take action. His Honor's blood-related younger brother, my god. Dou Fushi grabbed onto his hair. And mother, Elvi Liang said softly. Tang Wei said in a low voice, I wonder if His Honor has a wife or not. If he has a wife, Yi Hong murmured. Two questions popped up in the minds of the subordinates. It was over. His Honor's family disturbance is coming again. However, right now Yi Hua wasn't thinking about that at all. The situation had come too suddenly. I still need to calm down for a while. As for how to calm down, of course, it was up to his two wives. He could only trouble them. After a long while, Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji snuggled into Yi Hua's embrace. After being husband and wife for so long, Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji were able to tell that Yi Hua had something on his mind and was absent-minded today. What's wrong? Xianxia asked curiously. Yi Hua took a deep breath, then closed his eyes. I don't know how to say this matter. I still haven't thought about it. Donghuang Baiji opened her beautiful eyes and lightly kissed onto Yi Hua's cheek. After you have made up your mind, tell us. Yi Hua hugged onto his wives tightly. With the two of them by his side, his heart felt much more relaxed, and he didn't have to face the things that happened in the past. In the following 3 days, Yi Hua returned to his normal life. Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji let out a breath of relief. This overbearing man is finally willing to let us go. He can finally get off the bed and walk around. However, Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji discovered that Yi Hua was very strange during these 3 days. He wouldn't speak more than 3 sentences during the entire day, and at night he would only hug Donghuang Baiji to sleep. It was as if he had changed into another person. This caused Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji to be worried. They went to ask the subordinates, but how would they dare to tell His Honor about it? This concerns His Honor's private matter. Jokes are jokes, but when it comes to serious matters, the subordinates wouldn't act recklessly. Right now, His Honor clearly isn't mentally prepared to face His Honor's matter, and he needs time to get used to it. Right now, Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji were walking inside the imperial palace sneakily, just like a thief. Will Yi Hua get angry if we do this? Donghuang Baiji asked in a low voice. Xianxia pursed her lips. Seeing how Yi Hua is so tired and annoyed, my heart aches for him. However, he isn't telling us about it. When Yi Hua thinks it through, he will naturally tell us about it. Although Donghuang Baiji said this, the curiosity in her heart was no less than Xianxia's curiosity. Don't you know Yi Hua's temper? This time he definitely encountered a troublesome matter. After thinking about it for so many days, we have to help Yi Hua. Alright then, if he gets angry, at most he won't be able to get off the bed for another month. Donghuang Baiji had a determined look on her face. In any case, I am very happy. If I don't get off the bed, so be it. The two wives sneakily came to a corner of the imperial palace and secretly looked towards a place not far away. Yi Hong and Elvi Liang could be seen standing in front of an iron gate. The two women knew that this was the place where criminals were locked up. However, in the past, this place was basically just a decoration. These few days they noticed that Elvi Liang and the others had started standing here. Presumably, this person was the person that Yi Hua was annoyed about. What should we do? Donghuang Baiji asked in a low voice. Directly enter? Will they let us in? If they won't let us in, we will use our identity to suppress them. Will that work? If Yi Hua knows, he will still spank us. That fellow is very serious when he hits us. Xianxia pursed her lips and said, if he dares to spank us, the two of us will cry. Ah, good idea. If we cry, Yi Hua will be reluctant to let us go. The two wives immediately hit it off. After tidying up their makeup, they directly walked over. Elvi Liang and Yi Hong, who were currently on guard, were startled. Why did your wives come over? Subordinate greets your wives. Elvi Liang and Yi Hong shouted out in unison. Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji calmly nodded their heads. What are you two doing here? Xianxia asked faintly. The green and red brothers took a look at each other. Elvi Liang said, reporting to your wives, we are currently on duty. On duty? Then you two are on duty, we will go in and take a look. After finished speaking, Xianxia prepared to go in. Elvi Liang and Yi Hong hurriedly stopped Xianxia. Yi Hong said respectfully, Madam, you cannot go in. What? Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji were now sure that the problem lies within. This is His Honor's order. Elvi Liang cupped his hands and said. Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji originally planned to use their identity to suppress them, thus they said, I am your wives, what about it? You two are even going to stop us from entering this place? LV Liang and Yi Hong were about to collapse. I knew that this job isn't going to be good. Subordinate doesn't dare. Then move aside. Dong Huang Baiji shouted out lightly. Madams, please don't make things difficult for subordinate. Yi Hong felt like crying right now. Xianxia and Dong Huang Baiji snorted coldly. We are going in today. If you two dare to stop us, you two should know that his honor is a jealous king. Baidu search 881 Chinese website Yan. Chapter 956. Omega choking with sobs. Novel. The matter of his honor being the Vinegar King had long been spread out within the group. Regarding this matter, all of the subordinates were able to understand. The Green and Red brothers, do LV Tao and Yi Hong dare to touch his honor's body? Obviously they don't dare to touch his honor's body. His honor's reverse scale is his wife's. Xianxia and Dong Huang Baiji could be seen walking forward, while LV Liang and Yi Hong were retreating backwards. Helplessness could be seen on their faces. What should we do now? Open the door. Xianxia said. Honorable madam, his honor will beat us to *T. LV Liang said with a bitter face. Yi Hong, who was at the side, felt that all women were the same. My own Zishan is also this unreasonable and troublesome. She blames herself for not being able to give birth to a child, causing me to even suspect that I have a male disease. Dong Huang Baiji said gravely, there's no need to wait for your his honor anymore. Right now we're going to beat the *T out of you. Open the door. If not, I will tell his honor that the two of you have ill intentions towards us. The Green and Red brothers, you can't be so unreasonable. Who can save us? You two can be at ease. Even if his honor finds out about this, he won't blame you two. Just say that you two were threatened by us. Hurry up and open the door. At this point, LV Liang and Yi Hong had no other choice but to open the door. Xianxia and Dong Huang Baiji revealed gentle smiles on their faces. Xianxia said, not bad. Yi Hua didn't waste his efforts in finding wives for you guys. I was obviously threatened by you guys, okay? Madam, don't be too surprised after you go in. We'll just watch from the outside. Surprise. This caused Xianxia and Dong Huang Baiji to become even more curious. A woman's heart was burning with gossip. The two women walked directly into the dark cell. LV Liang and Yi Hong quickly closed the door, and then stood guard at the door as if nothing had happened. However, what they didn't know was that right now, Yi Hua was standing not too far away from them. Even though Yi Hua was looking at them, he didn't reject his wives from entering. In fact, he even let out a light sigh. Even such a melodramatic plot has happened to me. I might as well have the Calabash brothers save my grandfather instead. He didn't know how they would react when they saw the younger brother inside. They would definitely be very shocked. Xianxia and Dong Huang Baiji walked down the stairs. There were candles on both sides of the walls, lighting up the narrow stairs. This environment sure isn't good, it's eerie. Dong Huang Baiji said in a low voice. She did not like this kind of prison. Xianxia said softly, it's all right, the dungeons are all like this. I wonder who exactly did Yi Hua lock up here and how frustrated he is. Xianxia suddenly thought of something. It can't be a woman, right? That's possible, but he didn't want us to know about it. Dong Huang Baiji nodded her head. Originally, Xianxia and Dong Huang Baiji were curious and gossipy. However, right now, Xianxia and Dong Huang Baiji were a bit nervous. If it really is a woman, should we secretly kill her? Snatching a man from us is simply courting death. Slowly walking to the top of the staircase, below the staircase were numerous cages. The entire underground prison was very dark, and the candles on the walls were unable to light up the entire underground prison. However, Xianxia and Dong Huang Baiji seemed to be able to see that there seemed to be a human figure at the top of the staircase. Sure enough, there was a person locked inside. Dong Huang Baiji suddenly snapped her finger, and the infinity ring on her ring finger could be seen flashing for a bit. Soon after, the entire prison looked as if it was bathed in sunlight. The two women finally saw the human figure, and the human figure's back was still facing them. However, they also let out a sigh of relief. It wasn't a woman, it was a man. However, this man actually had his back facing them. He is a bit arrogant. Acting deep. Just now, Yi Juetian heard the footsteps of someone entering the prison, and he also heard the conversation between the two women. I have been locked up here for 3 days and I haven't seen a single person, and now someone suddenly came. Yi Juetian's flirtatious aura came again, and he hurriedly turned his back towards the two women. However, Yi Juetian was also curious as to who these two women are. Judging from the light footsteps, they should be those kind of gentle women. Suddenly Yi Juetian thought of something. These two can't be Big Brother's women, right? This Big Brother has lost his memories, so it is very normal for him to find a woman. However, then what about sister-in-law? What about pitiful sister-in-law? Big Brother's actions are too disappointing. For Big Brother, sister-in-law knelt down and worshipped Big Brother for 1,000 years. Which woman would be able to do that? None at all. However, it is still hard to say right now. What if it is someone else? It might even be Big Brother's subordinates. Big Brother's subordinates are both male and female. I have seen them that day. As Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji walked closer, they suddenly felt that this back view is very familiar. Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji took a look at each other, and from each other's eyes, they could see that this back view is actually exactly the same as Yi Hua's. Walking to the side of the metal door, the two women wrinkled their brows, and their beautiful eyes were filled with doubt. Who are you? Xianxia asked gravely. Yi Juetian could be seen standing with his hands behind his back, and his head was slightly raised at a 45 degrees angle. This action caused Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji to go into a daze. Acting cool, he is the same as Yi Hua. Yi Juetian could be heard shouting out with a deep tone. The cool breeze is trustworthy, the boundless autumn moon is boundless. How can an enchanting man like me? Yi Juetian turned his head around while acting cool, but before he could finish speaking he got stuck. Yi Juetian looked at Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji with a stupefied expression. These two women are so beautiful to actually be able to compete with big sister-in-law, awesome. However, right now Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji looked as if they were struck by lightning as they looked at Yi Juetian's face blankly. Why did Yi Hua lock himself up? Has he gone mad? No, this isn't Yi Hua. Although Yi Hua likes to act cool, he definitely wouldn't act so coquettishly. Furthermore, the tone that he spoke with was also very frivolous. Yi Hua had always been a very steady person and it was very rare for him to even joke around. However, who is this man? Why does he look so much like Yi Hua? Is this what Yi Hua is vexed about? Towards a person who looks like Yi Hua? This doesn't seem to be possible, right? Just like that, the two of them looked at each other blankly. One of them was stunned, while the other two were stupefied by Yi Hua's appearance. After a long time, Donghuang Baiji asked gravely, "Just who are you and why do you look so much like Yi Hua?" Yi Juetian came back to his senses and retracted that frivolous expression of his, then asked in a low voice, "Who are you too?" If it wasn't for him being frivolous at the start, Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji would have treated him as Yi Hua. "We are Yi Hua's wives. Who exactly are you?" Xianxia asked confusedly. Her mind was filled with question marks. Yi Juetian was still very shocked in his heart. These two beautiful women are actually Big Brother's women. My God, my guess was actually correct. Then what about Big Sister-in-law? Back then, Big Brother was a very single-minded man, and he even said that his only woman in this lifetime would be Big Sister-in-law, and Big Sister-in-law would be Big Brother's one and only woman. However, right now it was not like that at all, and two women had directly jumped out from his body. Baidu search 881 Chinese website Yin. No advertising words. Chapter 957. If his sister-in-law knew about this, he really didn't know how she would react. He was very worried. Yi Juetian's attitude was very obvious. He was definitely standing on his sister-in-law's side. Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji were a bit puzzled. This person actually revealed a hostile gaze towards us? What does he mean? At the very least, there wasn't any at the beginning. It was only after hearing his introduction. "I am your husband's younger brother," Yi Juetian said in a low voice. Hearing what Yi Juetian said, Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji were shocked. This was indeed shocking. Yi Hua has a biological younger brother? I have never heard Yi Hua mention this matter before. However, right now, Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji had no choice but to believe Yi Hua's words. Judging from Yi Hua's attitude these few days and his appearance, Yi Hua's blood-related younger brother should be the real deal. But, in a situation where Yi Hua knows that I have a blood-related younger brother, why did he still lock this blood-related younger brother up? Just what is the meaning of this? The two women were very confused, not knowing what Yi Hua was thinking about. The three of them were silent for a long time, each thinking about their own matters. Yi Juetian felt that this matter couldn't be blamed on them. Big Brother was currently in a state of amnesia and had completely forgotten about sister-in-law. But in his heart he felt that it was unfair for sister-in-law. Sister-in-law was infatuated, but in the end she got such a result. This was very unfair to sister-in-law. Did Big Brother have a change of heart? Did Yihua have a change of heart? Actually, from the very start, the reason why they got together was because of the child. Donghuang Baiji was the same as well. Because Donghuang Baiji gave birth to a child, Yihua felt that Donghuang Baiji was his woman, and thus, Donghuang Baiji was his woman. How could he possibly allow his woman to be with another man? How could this be? However, in the situation where they interacted with each other, Yihua gradually experienced the taste of love. It was very comfortable and Yihua was infatuated with it. Of course, Qing Yutong was the only one who became pregnant under the circumstance that she didn't have a child. The stimulation of this matter should be greater than the love. Are you really Yihua's blood-related younger brother? Qingya asked with a surprised tone. Yes, we are blood brothers with the same father and mother. Yi Juetian said with certainty. That blood test was also a fact placed in front of him. Donghuang Baiji asked confusedly, that Yihua never mentioned you before. Because Big Brother lost his memory. Memory loss? Qingya and Donghuang Baiji cried out in surprise. Yi Juetian let out a long sigh. That's right, Big Brother and I are both deities and we have been living in spirit capital since 1,000 years ago. Because of a war there was no news of Big Brother and we all thought that Big Brother had died. However, just a few days ago when I came down I saw Big Brother. Big Brother didn't die. But everything has been forgotten. 1,000 years. Yihua was a deity who lived in Lingdu and he was killed? This is different from what Yihua said. Yihua said that his group was wiped out in Kangluo continent, not in Spiritual City. How did you get to know Big Brother? Yi Juetian asked. Qingya took a deep breath. This is a long story, we will be leaving first. After finished speaking, Qingya pulled Donghuang Baiji and left. The amount of information that Donghuang Baiji had just received was too huge, and I'm a little unable to accept it. I have to go out and clear my head. Seeing that the two women were about to leave, Yi Juetian shouted out, Sister-in-law, let Big Brother sober up, he has become much more savage than before. In actuality, Yi Juetian didn't want to call her sister-in-law. In Yi Juetian's heart, there was only one sister-in-law, but he didn't know what to call her. In any case, she was his Big Brother's wife right now, so he could only call her like this. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji paused for a moment. The two women knew about Yihua's savagery. However, that wasn't Yihua's fault. Yihua wasn't a man who would take the initiative to cause trouble. It was those who came to provoke Yihua without any regard for their lives, causing Yihua to be enraged. The two walked out of the underground prison. Seeing the expression of Yihua's wife, LV Tao and Yi Hong thought in their hearts. As expected. Along the way, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji didn't speak and walked silently. Very soon they arrived at Yihua's bedroom. Yihua was currently sitting in the pavilion and Daji was kneeling beside him brewing tea. Looking at Yihua's face, they really look exactly the same. Only blood-related brothers can look like this. The two women let out a sigh of relief, then walked towards Yihua. Madams. Daji greeted respectfully, then brewed 2 cups of tea for Yihua. Yihua drank the tea and asked faintly, You have met him, right? Qingya and Donghuang Baiji were startled. As expected, we can't escape from this. Thus they didn't deny it and nodded their heads. Yihua placed down the teacup, then took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up. Recently I haven't smoked for a very long time, but these few days my mood was a bit gloomy. Thus I specially went to buy a Furong King cigarette. Afterward, Yihua used the deviant fire on his fingertip to light up the cigarette, then slowly took a puff. Does he look like me? Yihua asked in a low voice, his tone seemed to be very helpless. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji nodded their heads. Not only does he look like me, if he had the same hairstyle then when he acts cool he would look exactly the same. He said that I lost my memory, do you too believe him? Yihua asked. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji didn't know how to answer. This question was rather thorny. However, he is indeed my blood-related younger brother. Does this mean that I have really lost my memory? Yihua laughed lightly with a bit of self-mockery in his voice. The two women became speechless once again. No wonder Yihua has been acting so strangely these few days. If he were to encounter any enemies he wouldn't even care about them, and he would even be very happy that an enemy had appeared. However, even though the enemy wasn't an enemy, the enemy was even scarier than the enemy. Because the enemy that Yihua's current life might become complicated. Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji both knew that Yihua hated complicated things. Daji poured more tea for Yihua. Yihua picked up the teacup and blew on it, then said faintly, "He said that I was a hero in the past, he." After finished speaking, Yihua lightly took a sip of the tea. "I, the Supreme Overlord, am a hero? I have killed so many people that I can't even remember how many people I have killed. What a joke. If I was a hero in the past, then I am an ambitious and ruthless person right now. Whoever wants to be a hero can go ahead and be one. I, the Supreme Overlord, will never be a hero in my entire life. Do you two think that I should get to the bottom of this as well?" Yihua looked at his two beloved wives and asked. He was also seeking Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji's opinion. If he were to get to the bottom of this matter, Yihua felt that it would be rather troublesome. If he didn't want to get to the bottom of this matter, then his current life wouldn't change and he would just have to live the way he was supposed to live. As for Yi Juetian, all he had to do was to send him to the heavens again. However, from Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji's point of view, they still hoped that Yihua would be able to get to the bottom of this matter. That way he wouldn't have any regrets. Family members were also indispensable. Thinking up to here, Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji held on to Yihua's hand and gave him encouragement. "It is better to get to the bottom of some things. Yihua, you are a brave man, but your current behavior is a bit cowardly," Donghuang Baiji said with a teasing tone. Hearing that, Yihua laughed lightly. "Indeed, the current me is a bit cowardly and I don't dare to face the things that happened in the past." This was also human nature. For Yihua to have such a reaction, it meant that he was becoming more and more like a human and not a cold-blooded undead. Yihua couldn't help but pinch onto Donghuang Baiji's cheek. "Your Majesty, you are mischievous." Chapter 958. Editor. Milman 97-inch. Alright Yihua. Alright Yihua, let that little brother of yours out. How can there be a big brother like you locking someone up just because of a disagreement? Xianxia lightly patted on the back of Yihua's hand, giving him encouragement. Yihua drank the tea in the teacup, then nodded his head, then told Wei Chong to bring the person over. After a while, Wei Chong and Yi Juetian could be seen walking over. This was the first time Daji saw Yi Juetian and she was a bit stupefied. She looked at her master, then looked at this Yi Juetian. They really look alike. Even if it was Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji, they couldn't help but sigh at the strength of this gene. Yihua didn't look at them and continued drinking his tea. Actually, in Xianxia's eyes, the more Yihua acted like he didn't care, the more he cared. Yi Juetian knew that it would be like this. After Big Brother's wife sees me, she will definitely tell Big Brother about it. If it is a good woman, I will definitely come out. As expected, I came out. This means that the two wives that Big Brother found are both good women. Yi Juetian's impression of Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji increased by quite a bit. However, who is that flirtatious woman at the side? She is actually kneeling at the side and brewing tea, seemingly very respectful towards Big Brother. Could it be that she is also Big Brother's woman? Not only did Big Brother become ferocious, he also became lecherous. He is definitely controlled by people from Shanghai. After all, in the eyes of Shanghai, being able to turn a deity bad is a magnificent feat. Yihua waved his hand, and Wei Chong left respectfully. "Come over," Yihua said faintly. Hearing Big Brother's words, Yi Juetian felt that his tone was exactly the same as before. Only when he was talking to mother and sister-in-law would his tone be a bit gentler. Yi Juetian obediently walked into the pavilion. Daji still brewed a cup of tea and handed it over. Yi Juetian felt that this woman shouldn't be Big Brother's woman. After all, Big Brother's woman is sitting at the side, and this woman looks more like a servant. Yi Juetian thanked, then sat at the side and lightly took a sip. "Goody. No, this tea is brewed well. Big Brother still knows how to enjoy himself. Big Brother, come back with me. If mother knows that you are still alive, she will be very happy." Yi Juetian placed down the teacup and said with a pleading tone. Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji slightly frowned. And his mother, wasn't that his mother-in-law? Is Yihua's mother powerful? Is she the strict type? I heard that mothers-in-law are usually the strict type. Is she satisfied with me? All kinds of questions were hovering in Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji's mind, and they suddenly felt that their current life was pretty good. "Not interested," Yihua said faintly. The word mother was too unfamiliar. Most importantly, she didn't know how to face it. "I've lived alone for 1,000 years. I'm used to it." Hearing his Big Brother's cold tone, Yi Juetian was very anxious and quickly said, "Big Brother, Ever since there was no news of you, mother has been sick and is currently relying on the spirit spring to hang on to her last breath. Mother just wants to see you once, big brother. After Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji heard what Yihua said, both of them were astonished. They didn't expect that Yihua's mother would actually be seriously ill and unable to get up. Furthermore, she was only hanging on to her last breath just to wait for her son to come back. The two women felt a little sour in their hearts. After all, they were also mothers. If their children disappeared, they would feel the same way. Thus, even now, Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji still hoped that Yihua would be able to go and take a look. However, to Yihua back then when he broke out from the ground, he was just a skeleton. How could he have a mother? That mother was basically a stranger. In Yihua's heart, how could he not have fantasized about his mother? However, when his mother really appeared before his eyes, he had a feeling of being abandoned, a feeling of being an orphan. Back then, I was just a skeleton and everyone who saw me beat me up into a skeleton. No one cared about me, and right now you are telling me that I have a mother who is seriously ill? If that is the case, when I was being humiliated back then, where did everyone go? Everything that I have right now was exchanged with my life. I no longer owe anyone anything. Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji could sense Yihua's unhappiness, and they didn't really understand what was going through Yihua's mind right now. Suddenly, Yihua didn't want to think about the past anymore. The past has nothing to do with me anymore. Ever since I broke out from the ground, I am no longer a person. I am an undead clan member. I am an undead for the rest of my life. I have never been a human. You can go back now. Just act as if you never saw me and don't let me see you in the future either. Yihua said coldly. These few days he had been thinking about this problem, but right now he already had an answer. Hearing his big brother say such heartless words, anger appeared on Yi Juetian's face. I really feel that my mother and sister-in-law are wronged. Bang! Yi Juetian immediately slammed the table. This gave Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji a fright. You are the first man who dares to slap the table in front of Yihua. Daji, who was kneeling at the side, was also waiting for orders. As long as Yihua gives a look, this man will be instantly killed. To actually be disrespectful in front of the master. Big brother, you actually said such words. You have disappointed the hearts of those who are worried about you. Mother has already been lying on the sickbed for so long and she just wants to see you. Sister-in-law kneels in the temple and prays to the heavens every day to ensure your safety. Is it that difficult for you to see her? Are you still the Yihua from back then? Sister-in-law? Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji went into a daze. Even Yihua went into a daze. Daji felt disappointed. Why didn't I get a share? Yihua actually had a wife in the past. Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji immediately felt uncomfortable in their hearts. They felt that they were like a mistress who destroyed the relationship of another family. I wonder if Yihua had a child in the past. Right now, Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji finally knew why Yihua had been thinking about it for the past few days. Most likely it was because he was afraid that such a thing would happen. Yihua didn't think of this problem, but now that Yi Juetian said it, other than being a bit surprised, he didn't have any other emotions. After all, that was something that happened in the past. Frem. Yihua shouted out coldly. You. Yi Juetian pointed at Yihua, angered to the point that he couldn't even speak. Yihua looked towards his own younger brother and said gravely, Before I change my mind, you better obediently scram. Big brother. You have disappointed us too much. I don't have a big brother like you in the future. Yi Juetian was also angered to the point of going mad. His body gradually became faint and soon after he transformed into a rainbow and charged into the sky. This reunion between brothers should have been a happy thing, but in the end, it ended in such a manner. In Yi Juetian's heart, big brother is so ruthless. However, in Yihua's heart, the things that happened in the past have nothing to do with me anymore, and I don't want to bother about it anymore. Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji didn't know how to console Yihua. In fact, they even felt that Yihua was currently very irritated, and it would be better for them not to console him right now. The cigarette in Yihua's hand never stopped, and from this, it could be seen how he was feeling right now. Baidu search 081 Chinese website yen. Chapter 959. Omega choking with sobs. Novel. In actuality, Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji were also feeling very vexed. Just who was Yihua before he lost his memories? Based on what Yi Juetian had just said, he should be someone who was loved and respected by many. Yi Hua had a wife in the past and she was even waiting for Yi Hua to come back. This was not good news at all. The entire matter was very troublesome. I don't know how Yi Hua is going to deal with this. However, since such a thing has happened, is Yi Hua really going to treat it as if nothing happened? It shouldn't be possible. Right now Yi Hua was just unable to accept it. On the other side, Yi Juetian returned to spiritual capital with a belly full of anger. Spirit capital was the center of God's realm. Just like the one that Yi Hua destroyed in the past, it was just a small place. Spirit capital was different. Powerful supremes were gathered here. There were even a few supremes. Dozuns could be seen everywhere. However, in this place strength was an advantage, but one still needed the authority of a family. A large family was more useful than a paragon. For example, the Yi family was one of the 3 great families of Spirit City, but it was not as glorious and beautiful as it used to be. Ever since the eldest son of Yi family, Yi Hua, went missing 1,000 years ago, Yi family began to gradually decline, and Yi family had already been replaced by Yi family. However, Yi family was still the leader of the second-tier families. Other than the 3 big families, Yi family was the only one left. Spirit capital was no different from the empires in the Kangluo continent. They both had houses and imperial cities. The only difference was probably the environment. The air was filled with rich spiritual energy, which was worlds apart from the Kangluo continent. When Yi Juetian appeared on the streets of Lingdu, quite a few girls looked at him with gazes of adoration, and there were even some girls who saw Yi Juetian as Yi Hua's substitute. After all, the 2 brothers were simply too alike, and it was as if Yi Hua had not died back then, and was still standing right in front of them, alive and well. Yi Juetian didn't have the slightest intention of showing off today. His face was stiff and there was a suffocating feeling in his chest. Big brother had changed. That person was not his big brother at all. Big brother was indeed cold in the past, but his heart was still warm. He was very good to his family, friends, and brothers. Even if he knew that his brothers were jealous, he would still come forward to help. In Big Brother's words, they were all brothers, so there was no need to be so calculative. The big brother of the past and the big brother of the present were like 2 polar opposites. He really couldn't understand them. Unknowingly, Yi Juetian had arrived at the entrance of the Yi clan's residence. Yi family. 2 words were engraved on the black signboard in a flamboyant style, and a powerful aura emanated from it. On both sides of the signboard were not lions but jade dragons. This was bestowed by Lingdu's emperor, a reward for Yi family's many years of contributions. Of course, this was something that happened after Yi Hua went missing. Only the Yi clan could enjoy such an imperial gift. The current 3 great clans did not have such treatment. After all, the dragon was the symbol of the emperor. Young Master Yi. The guards standing on both sides of the Yi family greeted respectfully. Yi Juetian walked in with a gloomy face, causing the family guards to be a bit suspicious. This Yi family's 6th brother was not normal. In the past he would always tease him, but today his face was gloomy. Could it be that he encountered something unhappy? Or did he suffer a loss outside? If that was the case, then it must be the other 3 big families. Thinking back to the past, the Yi family was so glorious, but the glory of the past was gone forever. The Yi family's residence had never changed, and the Yi family still enjoyed the same treatment as before. There was a small bridge and flowing water in the residence, and the environment was elegant. It was the best place to stay healthy, and with the fragrance in the air, it was truly a pleasant place. 6th brother, what have you been doing these few days? Just as Yi Juetian was preparing to go to his mother's courtyard, a voice sounded out from behind. Yi Juetian slowly turned his head around. The man who was standing not far away had an outstanding appearance, and he looked somewhat similar to Yi Juetian. He was Yi family's 3rd brother, Yi Qin. 3rd brother. Yi Juetian cupped his hands and greeted. In the Yi family, they still paid a lot of attention to the order of seniority, and this also meant that the teachings of the Yi family were very strict. Don't cause trouble outside. If you cause trouble, even the Yi family won't be able to protect you. Yi Qin said lightly, then turned around and left. But even so, Yi Juetian still cupped his hands and sent him off. After all, he was the youngest one. Yi Juetian let out a breath, then continued to walk towards his mother's room. When he stood at his mother's door, Yi Juetian hesitated again. Should I tell my mother about this matter? If my mother heard that Big Brother is still alive, she would definitely be very happy. But now, Big Brother doesn't even acknowledge you at all. Wouldn't my mother be even sadder after hearing this? Little Tian? Is that you? A weak voice sounded out from within the room. Yi Juetian let out a small breath, then squeezed out a smile on his face as he pushed open the door and entered the room. Within the room there was a middle-aged woman who was dressed very simply. But even if that was the case, the middle-aged woman's beauty could not be concealed. The reason why Yi Hua and Yi Juetian were so handsome was all because of their mother. As expected, only with powerful genes would one be able to give birth to such outstanding children. There was still a deity being worshipped in the room, and Yi Juetian could tell that his mother had just finished praying. But now he felt that this kind of praying was completely useless. Big brother doesn't even want to come back to see you. Little Tian, come and sit. Lu Jing waved her hand with a kind smile on her face. Many years ago, Lu Jing was a famous beauty in Lingdu. She was proficient in the 4 arts of zither, chess, calligraphy and painting, and countless men prostrated themselves before her. But now, ever since her son went missing, there were more and more wrinkles on her face, and there were more and more white hairs on her temples. In fact, there were even more and more white hairs on her face, and she no longer had the beautiful appearance she had back then. One had to know that gods had an ageless appearance. It was strange for Lu Jing to have such a situation, but Lu Jing had no intention of changing. Underneath this, there was even a vicious demon of illness that required a drop of spirit spring water to survive. Seeing his mother like this, Yi Juetian felt very uncomfortable. Back then his father doted on his mother the most, but in the end his mother missed his big brother and gradually changed. Now he rarely came to visit his mother. Sometimes he even had to beg his father for the spirit spring water that his mother used. This was how he had been living for the past 1,000 years. Yi Juetian sat beside her mother, and when Lu Jing looked at Yi Juetian, it was as if she was looking at her own Yi Hua. Only at this moment would I have the motivation to continue waiting. Little Tian, what's wrong today? Lu Jing held her son's hand and asked with concern. Yi Juetian felt the coldness of his mother's palm and frowned. Mother, have you taken your medicine? Yes, Lu Jing said softly. Her gentle smile seemed to be telling her son not to worry about his mother. Yi Juetian looked at the golden jade bottle beside him. Don't think that it's just a small bottle. It's a primordial divine artifact. Green essence pot. A small thing that can preserve the medicinal properties of the spirit spring. The spirit spring needed this green essence pot to store it. If one were to use other things, it would be completely useless. After all, spirit spring water was very rare, and only the royal family had it. And his mother needed a drop of it every day, and if she stopped using it, her life would be in danger. Baidu search 881 Chinese website yen. No advertising words. Chapter 960. Yi Juetian immediately opened the green essence pot. It was already empty inside. Lu Jing smiled gently as if she was comforting her son. However, when he saw his mother smile, Yi Juetian felt like crying. He hated himself for being useless. If he had even half of his big brother's talent, he wouldn't have fallen to such a state. Mother, I will go and ask for it from father. Yi Juetian held onto the green essence pot and said in a deep voice. Lu Jing grabbed her son's sleeve and shook her head. Little Tian, forget it. Don't go looking for him. He has to go beg others. Mother doesn't want to be a burden to you. Mother, don't worry, I will have a way, I will definitely have a way. Yi Juetian said in a deep voice. Looking at his mother's pale face, his heart ached endlessly. Lu Jing held her son tightly and said softly, Little Tian, you know your mother's illness. I beg you this time, but there will be a next time and a time after that. There will be no end. Then I'll go find sister-in-law. Actually, what Yi Juetian wanted to say was that his sister-in-law had given him even more, and his father rarely went to ask for money anymore. He felt that his father had already abandoned his mother. Little Tian, Yuqing has already done enough. Mother doesn't want to see you two continue to work so hard. Yi Hua has already been gone for so many years and I have already accepted it. You should properly guide Yuqing and tell her to stop being so stubborn. Just agree to the imperial family, Lu Jing said softly. 100 years after Yi Hua went missing, Yi family declined and Qian family, which was also one of the 3 big families, proposed to cancel the marriage. Everyone knew that Yi Hua and Qian Yuqing only stopped at the wedding ceremony and didn't even have the time to consummate their marriage. After that, they were called to go to war and never came back. However, even if they had consummated their marriage, many people wouldn't care. After all, Qian Yuqing's appearance was intoxicating. Of course they would want such a woman. What else could the declining Yi clan do? They could only comply with the Qian clan. Qian Yuqing, who was originally living in the Yi clan, was taken away. At that time, Qian Yuqing didn't want to leave no matter what. That day, spirit capital resounded with Qian Yuqing's mournful cries. Many people heard it. The heavens were weeping. Yi Hua and Qian Yuqing's feelings for each other were spread all over the streets and alleys of Spirit City. However, in recent years only the royal family wanted to marry Qian Yuqing. According to tradition, a member of the royal family could not marry a woman who had been married before. However, this prince was different. His talent and strength were comparable to Yehua back then, and thus the emperor approved of it. After all, his son liked him. However, Qian Yuqing wouldn't agree no matter what. She declared that she was Yi Hua's woman in this lifetime, and even if she were to die, she would still be Yi Hua's woman. This was no less than offending the royal family. If it was Qian family, it would still be fine, but it was Yi Hua. Even though Yi Hua had been dead for 1,000 years, there were still people discussing about Yi Hua. This made the imperial family very unhappy, and Yi family had once again offended the imperial family. The spirit spring water that Lu Jing needed came from the royal family, and the royal family could cut it off and give it to her whenever they wanted. Knowing such a thing, Lu Jing didn't want them to beg. If she died, the whole Yi family would be relaxed and there was no need to compromise. Sister-in-law won't agree, Yi Juetian said in a low voice. His hands tightly gripped the green essence pot. He was also thinking about a problem. Should he tell his mother? Big brother was still alive. But it was useless. Lu Jing held her son's hand tightly and said in a low voice, "Little Tian, just say mother needs the spiritual spring. Yuqing will understand." "Mother, how can you be like this? You are pushing sister-in-law away," Yi Juetian said in shock. He immediately understood what his mother meant. For the sake of the spiritual spring, sister-in-law married into the royal family. Lu Jing let out a light sigh. "Could it be that you want to see your Yuqing become like me? Yuqing is still young and has a beautiful future ahead of her. I have also heard of Huang Yun before. He is a person who is comparable to Yi Hua. For Yuqing to marry such a person, I will be at ease." "Mother, alright, don't say any more. Just do as mother says. It is time for this matter to come to an end." Yi Juetian wanted to say it out, but in the end he was interrupted by his mother. However, right now he still had to go and find sister-in-law to ask for some of the spiritual spring water. Mother's complexion looked very bad. "Mother, rest well, I will be back soon." Yi Juetian nodded his head and said gravely. Lu Jing revealed out a gratified smile, then stretched out her ice-cold hand and caressed Yi Juetian's face. "The happiest thing that happened in mother's life is giving birth to the two of you. I don't have any regrets anymore." "Mother, you won't have any regrets. Believe me, big brother is definitely still alive. Yi Hua has always been living in mother's heart," Lu Jing said slowly with boundless longing. Looking at her youngest son, it was as if she was looking at Yi Hua again. The two brothers really look alike. Yi Juetian took in a deep breath. "Mother, wait for me to come back." After finished speaking, Yi Juetian ran out of the room and closed the door. Looking at the cold and cheerless courtyard, his heart felt like it was going to turn cold. Just now mother seemed to be saying her last words. This feeling is really not good. How can I let big brother come back and take a look at mother, even if it is just a look? Sister-in-law? Right now I can only rely on sister-in-law. Back then big brother was also very obedient to sister-in-law. However, if sister-in-law really went to look for big brother, wouldn't that make the royal family angry? At that time the consequences would be very serious. What if no one finds out? This is a good idea. I can only let sister-in-law go and erase the demon in big brother's heart and let big brother return to how he was in the past. I wonder what kind of expression sister-in-law will have when she hears the news that big brother is still alive. She will probably be stupefied, right? Yi Juetian hurriedly went to look for sister-in-law. Right now sister-in-law is definitely praying in the temple, but right now she is praying at home and is being grounded. Right now we need a secret passageway. I heard that this secret passageway was dug by sister-in-law herself, and she directly dug it into big brother's room. I simply admire sister-in-law's courage. In order to sneak a peek at big brother bathing, she was willing to do anything. However, this is also what makes sister-in-law cute. Yi Juetian came to big brother's room and the room was already covered in dust. Yi Juetian walked to the flower screen and opened up the floorboard. A passageway appeared below and it could directly lead to Qian family. After all, I can't openly look for sister-in-law anymore. Qian family and Yi family have long stopped talking and cut off all ties with each other. Very quickly, Yi Juetian came to the top of the passageway and lightly knocked on it, then waited for a response. Very quickly, footsteps sounded out from the top of the passageway. Yi Juetian was now at ease, and he moved his head away from the top of the passageway. A face that was so beautiful that it could make one suffocate appeared in front of him. Although it was just a plain dress, it was unable to conceal that breathtaking look. Her eyebrows were like the faint moon and her eyes were like the cold stars. A layer of haziness surged within her jet-black and deep eyes, and that slight smile made one feel as if they were bathing in spring water. However, Yi Juetian knew that sister-in-law was lying to him. Chapter 961. Sister-in-law. Although Qian Yuqing was no longer a member of Yi family, Yi Juetian would still frequently call Qian Yuqing as his sister-in-law. Of course, it was also Qian Yuqing's request to call Qian Yuqing that. This way I feel that I am still Yi Hua's wife and not like what the outside world is saying, that I already have nothing to do with Yi Hua. As expected, when Yi Juetian called out sister-in-law, Qian Yuqing was stunned for a moment. The smile on her face gradually fell. Little Tian, you're here. Qian Yuqing let out a light sigh. This is not Yi Hua. Yi Juetian jumped out from the tunnel. Sister-in-law, how have you been recently? Qian Yuqing looked at Yi Juetian and nodded. I've never had a good time. Little Tian, come and have a seat. Qian Yuqing said softly. She walked to the side of the table and opened a box. Inside was a bottle of green essence pot. Qian Yuqing took out the green yuan pot and said softly, Little Tian, this is for mother. Sister-in-law. Yi Juetian looked at the small bottle in Qian Yuqing's hand and said, I will think of a way in the future. Don't worry, little Tian. Qian Yuqing squeezed out a trace of a smile. How do I think of a way? Right now, the only thing that can protect my mother is... Sister-in-law, could it be that you've agreed to marry Huang Yun? Yi Juetian looked at his sister-in-law and asked. It was as if he was saying, didn't you say that you only love Big Brother? Why did you change? Qian Yuqing said in a low voice. Little Tian, the spirit spring is in the hands of the royal family. Only Huang Yun can save mother now, do you understand? Sister-in-law. Yi Juetian cried out in pain. On one side was his mother and on the other side was his sister-in-law. Could it be that he had no choice but to watch as his mother died? But did he have to watch his sister-in-law marry into the royal family? Wasn't there a better way? Little Tian, this is all I can do for your big brother. Qian Yuqing said with a satisfied smile. As long as I am able to do something for Yi Hua, I will be very satisfied. Furthermore, the other party is Yi Hua's mother. Sister-in-law, big brother is still alive. Yi Juetian couldn't help but shout out in a low voice. After hearing this, Qian Yuqing was not overly excited. This kind of comfort was not something that had never happened before. And I know your big brother is definitely alive right now, definitely. Qian Yuqing said with certainty. She firmly believed that Yi Hua was still alive right now, he wouldn't die. Yi Juetian knew that his sister-in-law misunderstood and hurriedly said, Big brother is really alive. Qian Yuqing looked at Yi Juetian in confusion. I met Big brother a few days ago. He was currently on the Kangluo continent. You even told me to come back this morning. Qian Yuqing looked at Yi Juetian in a daze. Her expression was a little strange, as if she couldn't believe the truth of those words. Sister-in-law. It's true. I've been locked up by Big Brother for the past few days. Big Brother has lost his memory. He doesn't remember anything. Following Yi Juetian's explanation, Qian Yuqing's expression was calm. However, the tears in her eyes were like pearls from a broken necklace. Only after a while did Qian Yuqing's expression change. With a look of panic and nervousness, she grabbed Yi Juetian's shoulders with both hands. Really? You're not lying to me? It's true. Big brother is really still alive. At that time even I jumped in fright. Big brother himself seemed to have jumped in fright as well. Then Big brother used a blood test method to verify it. Yi Juetian's words made Qian Yuqing feel like she was about to go crazy. After waiting for 1,000 years, this day had finally arrived. I just knew that Yi Hua wouldn't die. How could Yi Hua die so easily? So he lost his memory. Heavens bless him. Qian Yuqing hurriedly knelt in front of the god and sincerely kowtowed with a heart full of gratitude. Yi Juetian stood at the side and watched. He did not stop Qian Yuqing. Sister-in-law, there's even worse news. As long as Yi Hua is still alive, there's no worse news. Qian Yuqing finally smiled. It was as if she had returned to the past. That feeling of joy caused her entire person to go through a tremendous change. In the past she was lifeless, but right now it was as if she had come back to life. She emitted an enchanting radiance and looked exceptionally moving. Sister-in-law, listen to me, it really is bad news. Qian Yuqing stood up with a joyful mood and asked curiously, is Yi Hua still well? The current Qian Yuqing looked as if she had returned to when she was 18 years old. Right now, Big Brother is no longer the big brother in the past. Yi Juetian said gravely. After hearing that, Qian Yuqing slightly wrinkled her eyebrows and asked in a low voice, what happened? Sister-in-law, do you know under what circumstances did I coincidentally meet Big Brother? Over 10,000 people begged me to go down. Over 10,000 people. Qian Yuqing was very puzzled. And Big Brother killed those 10,000 people who were unarmed and defenseless. There were old and young among them. Not a single one was left alive and all of them were beheaded. Yi Juetian said with a heavy tone. Impossible. Qian Yuqing said straightforwardly. In her heart, Yi Hua was an indomitable man, so how could he possibly go and kill defenseless and defenseless people? Yi Juetian took in a deep breath. In the beginning I was also unable to imagine it, but this is real. I saw it with my own eyes and soon after I was locked up by Big Brother. Yi Hua locked you up? Qian Yuqing was very puzzled. If what Xiao Tian said is true, then Yi Hua's change is truly earth-shattering. And in the end, or what? In the end it was Big Brother's 2 wives who discovered me and begged for mercy for me, only then did he let me out. Yi Juetian couldn't help but say. As expected, after hearing that Yi Hua had 2 wives, Qian Yuqing immediately felt a sense of powerlessness, and her gaze became lax. This is truly not good news. Although Yi Juetian was angry at Big Brother in his heart, he still had to explain this matter to Yi Hua. Sister-in-law, Big Brother has lost his memory right now and doesn't remember anyone, that's why he married a wife. Although this was the case, Qian Yuqing still felt uncomfortable in her heart, because Yi Hua had said before that he would only have me in this life, and that I am his one and only. Right now, telling her that what Yi Hua said back then was fake, how can I feel good about it? As expected, Yi Hua is a swindler and furthermore he loves swindling his wives the most. Sister-in-law, Big Brother is a cruel tyrant right now. Today when I asked Big Brother to come back to meet Mother and you, he told me to scram, and if I didn't scram he said that he wanted to kill me, and he even said that what happened in the past has nothing to do with him. After hearing what Yi Hua said, Qian Yuqing slightly lowered her head, seemingly a bit sad. I have waited for you for over 1,000 years, why aren't you willing to come and see me? Sister-in-law, right now, only you are able to awaken the conscience in Big Brother's heart. If you are able to let Big Brother remember what happened in the past, that would be great. After Qian Yuqing, who was in a daze, heard what Yi Hua said, she seemed to have seen a trace of hope. That's right, as long as Yi Hua recovers his memories, everything will be fine. I want to go and meet Yi Hua. Chapter 962. Qian Yuqing said firmly. No matter what, Yi Hua is my man, even if I die I have to die in front of him. Yi Juetian nodded his head. Sister-in-law, the news of Big Brother still being alive cannot be leaked. We have to make secret arrangements this time. I know that. Qian Yuqing said in a low voice. Back then Yi Hua suddenly disappeared and was said to be dead, but his corpse was not found. The entire matter was suspicious and he might even have been framed. Therefore the news of Yi Hua still being alive must not be found out. If some people were to find out, they would definitely do something bad to Yi Hua, at least that was what Qian Yuqing thought. However, Yi Hua just wanted people to do something bad to him. Yi Juetian said in a low voice, Sister-in-law, I can't accompany you anymore after all, the 2 of us cannot meet each other at the same time. Alright, where is Yi Hua now? In Kangluo continent, at a place called Wuxia Empire, he is the emperor. Hearing Yi Juetian's words, Qian Yuqing laughed lightly. In the past I felt that Yi Hua doesn't look like a general and he looks more like an emperor. Just as the 2 of them were preparing, a shadow appeared at the door. Someone is here. Yi Juetian's heart sunk. I definitely can't forcefully move right now, if not I will be discovered. Ying, are you there? A unique male voice rang out at the door. Qian Yuqing's expression sunk. Why did Huang Yun suddenly come over? Yi Juetian looked at Qian Yuqing. Right now he did not dare to move as Huang Yun might very likely sense it. Qian Yuqing let out a breath and said, I am here, what is the matter? Yijing, can I come in? Huang Yun's tone was rather gentle, but compared to his identity, this kind of gentleness was rather low profile. After all, Huang Yun was currently a powerful figure in spiritual city, comparable to Yihua. Qian Yuqing hurriedly said, "It's not convenient for me right now. I have something that I want to discuss with you. I will wait for you outside." Huang Yun said with a smile. He was very patient. For so many years Huang Yun had always spoken to Qian Yuqing with this kind of tone. He was indeed a very persistent man. If another man tried to chase after her for hundreds of years and still failed, wouldn't that man die from anger? After all, Huang Yun's identity was right there. In actuality, Huang Yun was much younger than Qian Yuqing. At the very least, Huang Yun was only born after Yihua went missing. In fact, when Royal Cloud was born, a rare phenomenon appeared in the imperial palace. Hundreds of birds circled above the imperial palace. Just from this alone, Royal Cloud was extraordinary. Back then, there were even people who said that Yihua had reincarnated. When I was young in Imperial Cloud, I had always been listening to him. Although I don't know this person called Yihua, I hate him. I feel that I am living under someone else's shadow. After that, I inquired about Yihua and discovered that this Yihua is indeed very strong to the point of being ridiculously strong. Then I definitely can't be weaker than him. Huang Yun's talent was indeed strong enough. At the very least, in terms of cultivation, he was even faster than Yihua back then. It was as if he had a cheat code. During one of the banquets, Huang Yun saw Qian Yuqing and immediately took a fancy to her. He was determined to marry her. In the end, he found out that even the woman was that Yihua. This made Huang Yun even more furious. Since he was able to surpass others in terms of cultivation, there was no way he would be weak in other aspects. If you can treat others well, then so can I. One couldn't help but say that Huang Yun had been competing with a dead person ever since he was born, and he had never given up. Qian Yuqing knew that if she didn't go out today, she definitely wouldn't leave. She indicated to Yi Juetian to go under the table. Yi Juetian nodded and gave her a careful look. Qian Yuqing was at ease. This Huang Yun was indeed strong, but his heart was still considered good. He wouldn't force others to do things that they weren't willing to do. Qian Yuqing stood up and tidied up her appearance. No matter what, this Huang Yun is a good person. These spirit springs were all given by Huang Yun. If not, where would I go to find spirit springs? Huang Yun also knew that this was for the sake of prolonging Yihua's mother's life. If it wasn't for the fact that her heart already belonged to someone, she might have really been touched. Qian Yuqing opened the door and saw Huang Yun standing at the door. Compared to Yihua, Huang Yun didn't have that kind of astonishing handsomeness, but he belonged to the standard type of warm man. Especially the smile at the corner of his mouth. There was a bit of dimple, making him look like the big boy next door. Huang Yun was wearing an emperor robe that covered that immature aura, making him look more stable and reserved. Huang Yun had a head full of jet black hair, and on top of his head, there was an exquisite hairpin. In the past, Yihua also had a hairstyle like this, and it looked especially charming. However, the two's personalities were evidently different. Yuqing. When Huang Yun saw that the woman he liked had walked out, a happy smile immediately appeared on his face. He didn't even look at the situation inside the house. Qian Yuqing nodded, then closed the door and walked towards the garden outside the house. Yi Juetian, who was inside the house, let out a breath of relief and hurriedly slipped away through the secret passage. In the garden outside, Qian Yuqing was walking slightly at the front, while Huang Yun was following behind her. Although it was just a way of walking, it also represented what Huang Yun was thinking. To be able to let a woman walk in front of him, other than his mother, it would be Qian Yuqing. This was a way of thinking that wanted to protect her, or perhaps he was willing to let this woman walk in front of him and lead his life. "Were you praying just now?" Huang Yun asked in a low voice. Of course, he knew what Qian Yuqing did every day. Most of her time was spent praying. Qian Yuqing didn't deny it and nodded slightly. "Do you have anything to do today?" Huang Yun slightly knitted his brows for a moment, then relaxed and said with a light smile, "Minghuang Mountain is very beautiful this season. I want to go and take a look with you." Minghuang Mountain. Qian Yuqing naturally knew that it was very beautiful. After all, she had gone there with Yihua before. That day when she confessed to Yihua, that idiot was shocked. Even now, she could still clearly remember that astonished expression on that idiot's face. Don't look at how cold Yihua usually appears to be. In actuality, he is just like a big boy, just that he isn't good at expressing himself. In the end, that fellow even pretended to be stupid and actually said, Minghuang Mountain is very beautiful today. I confessed to you and you said that the mountain is beautiful, serves you right to be single for your entire life. Then I got angry and said, if you don't want me I will marry someone else. After hearing that, Yi Hua's face immediately changed and he directly said, I won't allow it. When she heard those 3 words, how could she be angry? Her heart felt warm. Then she made a bold move. She faced Yi Hua and slightly raised her head, then closed her eyes. Her heartbeat simply reached an unimaginable speed. That idiot actually asked you what you were doing. Even now, Qian Yuqing still felt that it was funny. I have never seen such an idiot before, which is why she said, when a girl closes her eyes she wants you to kiss her. Then she became even angrier. Yi Hua said that there are too many people here, it isn't suitable. Chapter 963. The originally romantic atmosphere was ruined by an idiot. That day she almost fainted from anger. However, she liked Yi Hua's dazed look, it was so cute. Although she didn't get kissed by Yi Hua, she still held on to Yi Hua's hand. But now that kiss has been delayed for over 1,000 years. Yuqing. Seeing that Qian Yuqing didn't say anything, Huang Yun called out lightly. Following Huang Yun's call, Qian Yuqing's thoughts were pulled back. However, Qian Yuqing, who returned to reality, was at a loss. She would rather live in a fantasy or a dream. That way she would be able to be together with Yi Hua every day. These days my body isn't feeling well. Qian Yuqing said lightly. Minghuang Mountain was her and Yi Hua's place. Huang Yun was slightly disappointed. He had never gone out with Qian Yuqing before. He could only walk around the garden like this. Yuqing, take the green origin pot. Huang Yun took out the spirit spring from his robe. This was probably the only thing that could make Qian Yuqing turn back. Qian Yuqing accepted it. Thank you. Yuqing, we are about to get married, there is no need to be so polite. Huang Yun said gently. In his heart he knew that the reason why Qian Yuqing was willing to marry him was because of the spirit spring. Others didn't know about the deal that the two made in private, but Huang Yun was already preparing for the wedding. If it was in the past, Qian Yuqing would have accepted her fate. But now her hope was burning. But now she rejected again. The spirit spring was broken. Qian Yuqing was a bit hesitant. Alright, I have finished. Yuqing, you are not feeling well, go back to your room. Huang Yun said lightly, seeming to be very considerate. Then I won't send you out. Qian Yuqing squeezed out a smile. Huang Yun smiled. No need, I have been to your house countless times. This sentence seemed to be saying that you have not been to my house before. Seeing that Qian Yuqing walked into the house, Huang Yun took a deep breath and walked towards the door. Ninth Prince. Huang Yun, who was in the corridor, heard the voice behind him. He turned around and took a look. It was Qian Yuqing's father, Qian Yi. Facing Qian Yuqing's father, Huang Yun was still very respectful. He cupped his hands and shouted, Uncle Qian. Are you here to find Yuqing? Why don't you talk more? Qian Yi looked rather ordinary, but no one knew that this ordinary man was actually a supreme being. However, one could see that one of Qian Yi's ears was missing. Yuqing isn't feeling well today. I won't disturb your rest, Huang Yun said politely, even though he knew it was just an excuse. However, they were all smart people and wouldn't point it out. Some things were exposed, then they wouldn't even be friends anymore. Ninth Prince, Yuqing is a bit slow. Don't rush. Qian Yi naturally hoped that her daughter would be able to marry Huang Yun. That way Huang Yun would become the noblest woman in the entire Lingdu. One must know that the current Huang Yun was even more loved and respected than the emperor, just like how Yehua was back then. However, the biggest difference between Huang Yun and Yehua was that Huang Yun was a member of the royal family, and the emperor would be happy to be loved and respected, but Yehua was not. Huang Yun smiled understandingly. Uncle Qian, I understand. I still need to work harder. Come and have a cup of tea before returning to the palace. Then I'll have to trouble Uncle Qian. After returning to her room, Qian Yuqing opened the secret passage and walked in with the spiritual spring water in her hand. Sister-in-law. Yi Juetian had been waiting respectfully for a long time, and at the side he had prepared some tools to conceal himself. Little Tian, take this. Qian Yuqing passed the spiritual spring water to Yi Juetian. Sister-in-law, why are you here again? I wasn't this diligent in the past. Suddenly Yi Juetian thought of something. Sister-in-law, it can't be that you have already agreed to it, right? Alright, you don't have to bother about this matter anymore, cover for me. What else could Yi Juetian do? He could only make arrangements for his sister-in-law. Qian Yuqing could be seen wearing a white conical bamboo hat, and a white veil hung on the conical bamboo hat, completely covering her face. Yi family was rather strict, but when Yi Juetian learned how to go out and play when he was young, he had invented quite a few secret passages. After walking out of the Yi clan, Yi Juetian reminded her one last time, "Be careful. I'll leave big brother to you, sister-in-law. Little Tian, don't worry, I will bring your big brother back. And thanks for your hard work, sister-in-law. Sister-in-law, take this and go to the room to find a mute person." Yi Juetian could be seen taking out a yellow leaf. Qian Yuqing took the leaf and asked vigilantly, "Is it safe?" "It's definitely safe." The two of them immediately separated. After all, they could not let anyone see them right now. In the gods' realm, if one wanted to go down, they would not be able to go down just because they wanted to. They would have to go through registration, and the realm room was the place to register. If one wanted to go to any plane, they would have to pass through here. Qian Yuqing quickly arrived at the realm room. There were a lot of people here. After all, there was only one god's realm and there were tens of thousands of worlds. That day Yi Juetian had also accepted a mission here, which was why he went down. Qian Yuqing searched the hall for a long time, but he did not see a single mute. Since he could not find the mute, Qian Yuqing had an idea and held the yellow leaf on his fingertips. If the mute saw it, he would definitely come over. Not long after, a short man walked over to Qian Yuqing's side. He did not say anything and only tilted his head, indicating for her to follow him. Qian Yuqing was overjoyed and quickly followed. After a few twists and turns, Mute brought Qian Yuqing to a room. There was a device placed inside. It looked rather simple and crude, as if it was made by himself. Mute looked at Qian Yuqing as if asking where to go. Qian Yuqing said lightly, "Kangluo Continent, Wuxia Empire." Mute could be seen inputting something at the side. It should be the coordinates. The device looks very high-end. Qian Yuqing had never been down there before and she was a bit worried. However, for the sake of seeing Yi Hua, she had to risk it all. Mute indicated for Qian Yuqing to stand on the device. Qian Yuqing let out a deep breath and walked onto the device. Before Qian Yuqing was ready, Mute pressed on the device. Qian Yuqing's delicate body instantly disappeared from the device. The best way to do this was to not be recorded and thus not be detected. This was also to prevent the fact that Yi Hua was still alive from being exposed. More importantly, this kind of non-official teleportation did not have that kind of extravagance. On top of Wuxia Empire's city wall, Lai Gu was currently drinking wine by himself and looking into the distance. "Yi Hua, you have not returned home for almost a month. I miss you so much. This is the longest time that we have been apart." Beside Lai Gu, a cat was also licking the wine, seemingly to be missing someone too. Lai Gu let out a light sigh, then looked at the little cat and asked curiously, "Zhu Tian, was your name given by his honor, or did you originally have this name?" Chapter 964. Zhu Tian went into a daze for a moment. Sitting on the table, Zhu Tian slowly spoke. "His honor gave it to me. Back then, my original body looked exactly like this and I was taken away by his honor." Absolute Heaven had only been able to speak for the past few days. This meant that Absolute Heaven was recovering very quickly. Most likely, before Brett returned, Absolute Heaven would be able to return to his human form. This was a good thing for the entire team. They now had another source of combat power. From the looks of it, his honor's amnesia isn't very complete, and it is merely a difference of a single word. Lai Gu mumbled. From the looks of it, Lai Gu's intelligence had also increased after drinking too much. Yeah. Absolute Heaven also felt that one was called Yi Ju Tian and the other was called Absolute Heaven. If he said that it was a coincidence, he would not believe it. Listen to Wei Chong. This morning his honor chased away his blood brother. Lai Gu sat at the side of the table, poured another cup of wine and said helplessly, "This kind of thing would happen to anyone else. His honor is becoming more and more like a human, and this is all thanks to your wife." Zhu Tian was the brains of the team and there was naturally nothing wrong with what he said. "Zhu Tian, have you ever thought about what if his honor had a wife in the past? With his honor's personality, I'm afraid that the situation is bad," Zhu Tian said gravely. Lai Gu slightly frowned. "Are you saying that your wife is in a bad situation?" "No, it's the past that wasn't good. His honor isn't like you who likes everyone he sees. Zhu Tian, don't slander me. Ever since I got Yu Hua, I have been well behaved." Lai Gu snorted and he was even very tsundra. "Hee hee, it's just that a better one hasn't appeared yet. Absolute heaven did not forget to strike back. Did this lecherous dragon still not understand? Don't talk about so many useless things. Are you trying to say that his honor doesn't care about his former wife? Lai Gu asked curiously. I won't guarantee this kind of thing, but at the very least I won't do it in the beginning. To his honor, this is a strange woman. To offend his honor's wife for a strange woman, his honor isn't that stupid. That's true. Unless your previous wife is as beautiful as your wife, his honor will probably consider it. Absolute heaven revealed a look of disdain. Do you think that everyone is like you? However, just as the two were blowing water, a wave of fluctuation came from behind them. This gave the two of them a fright, and the hair on Zhou Xian's body stood up. Lai Gu locked onto his target tightly. The white armored warriors at the side surrounded this strange aura, forming an encirclement. Puff. A white figure appeared in front of everyone. Everyone was stupefied. It seemed to be a woman. A deity? Absolute heaven probed as he sensed the aura. This woman who suddenly appeared was, of course, Xianxia. The coordinates of the teleportation were just right, and she directly arrived at the city gate. There was only a slight error and she ran to the top of the city wall. More importantly, he even ran to the back of Lai Gu and Zhou Xian, giving the two of them a fright. Thinking that he was an assassin, the two of them immediately fell behind him. Xianxia saw a cat speak. It wasn't that strange, but it was interesting that a cat could know about gods. However, these people were still very vigilant and surrounded him. Are these all Yi Hua's subordinates? He seemed to be in high spirits. However, this patrolling officer is still drinking. I have neglected my duty a little. In the future I have to properly talk to Yi Hua about this. After all, when Yi Hua was leading the army in the past, he was rather proper. When it was time to drink, he would drink, and when it wasn't time to drink, he would definitely not drink. May I ask if this place is Void Empire? Xianxia asked gently. Hearing this woman's voice, Lai Gu and Zhou Xian took a glance at each other. This woman doesn't seem to be here to cause trouble. Lai Gu waved his hand and the white armored soldiers spread out uniformly. This made Xianxia feel that these are the soldiers that Yi Hua trained. Zhou Xian jumped onto the table and asked, "This place is Void Empire, what are you, a deity, doing here?" After finished speaking, Zhou Xian realized that something was amiss. Right after his honor's younger brother left, a woman came here. This can't be. Zhou Xian had a scary thought. Hearing that this place was Void Empire, Xianxuqing's mood became extremely good. With a relaxed tone she said, "Can't deities come here?" His honor doesn't have a good impression of deities. Then who are you all? Aren't you all afraid of being scolded by his honor for drinking here? Xianxia asked again. Lai Gu stealthily kept the wine pot, then looked towards the other side as if nothing had happened and even whistled. This sneaky action of Lai Gu's caused Xianxia to laugh lightly. Yi Hua's subordinate is rather interesting. Are you here to look for someone? Zhou Xian asked confusedly, wanting to confirm his thoughts. Xianxia nodded her head, then took off her conical bamboo hat. However, when Xianxia took off her conical bamboo hat and revealed her stunning appearance, Lai Gu and Zhou Xian were both dumbfounded for a moment. Isn't this a little too beautiful already? This woman is actually comparable to his honor's wife. After getting used to looking at his honor's wife's appearance, this woman seems to be even more beautiful. Right now, Zhou Xian was almost certain that this woman was his honor's wife. His younger brother definitely told her about it when he returned, and she immediately came down. Lai Gu was indeed stunned, and he asked curiously, "You are so beautiful, you couldn't have come to Void Empire to look for a man, right?" Zhou Xian slanted his eyes and looked towards Lai Gu. "You dare to take liberties with his honor's wife? And I am here to look for my husband," Xianxia said tenderly. There wasn't a bit of deity's tone, on the contrary, she seemed very amiable and approachable. Zhou Xian revealed an expression of as expected. Lai Gu was very puzzled. "You are the husband of a deity, why would you be in Void Empire? You're definitely a spy. Don't think that just because you look good I will fall for your tricks." "My husband's name is Yi Hua. Do you two know him?" Xianxia said with a slight smile. Right now Lai Gu had a dumbfounded expression on his face. Although Zhou Xian had guessed it, he was still shocked in his heart. As expected of his honor's wife. His honor's wife is here. Something big has happened. His honor, you are finished. This is simply a debt of love from my previous life. Don't think that just because I am drunk you can lie to me. Lai Gu shook his head. Why is his honor's luck with women so good? He has 3 beautiful wives and there is even a stunning Daoji waiting for him. And now another one came over on her own accord. How are we subordinates supposed to live? His honor, please give me a way out. I am not lying to you, Yi Hua is really my husband. Qian Yuqing said lightly, then stretched out her tender and delicate hand and lightly caressed the video. A lump of smoke could be seen spreading out and gradually an image could be seen. The two looked at the video. This is a wedding ceremony. The long-haired and cold-looking man in the video is his honor. Although his honor's hairstyle changed, his temperament did not change in the slightest. However, Yi Hua, who had long hair, was still very handsome. Chapter 965. His honor could be seen lifting up the red veil, and Qian Yuqing's beautiful face could be seen. She is truly beautiful. His honor's taste is always so unique. It's no wonder that back then I only met Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji. Lai Gu feels that back then the two madams weren't even as beautiful as this Donghuang Baiji. It's only because they were trained by his honor that they became this beautiful. Look at the shy face of the bride. Lai Gu compared for a moment and found that they were indeed the same person. But is that his honor? If that is his honor, then there is a problem. Qian Yuqing waved her hand. Do you believe me now? Lai Gu gulped down a mouthful of saliva, and absolute heaven didn't say anything either. After quite a while, Lai Gu said in a low voice, "This mysterious woman, I have been following his boss for over 1,000 years, but I have never heard of you before." Lai Gu almost shouted out his honor. After all, in front of a stranger, it was still not possible for him to say it out. I got to know Yi Hua more than 2,000 years ago. However, he went missing later on. Today, Yi Hua's younger brother told me about this. You guys should know about this, right? Since Qian Yuqing had already said it like this, Lai Gu and Zhu Tian had no choice but to believe her. However, they were still conflicted from the bottom of their hearts. After all, the appearance of this woman was equivalent to disturbing his honor's family relationship. One must know that in the past his honor had a family disturbance, and his honor had to rely on a group of actors to muddle through. But now, this is a marriage and his honor has never done this with your wife before. In that case, this was the first wife and the current one was the second wife. Oh my God, about that beautiful lady, it isn't convenient for our boss today. Why don't we come again another day? Lai Gu muttered. Zhu Tian did not say anything and expressed his approval. Qian Yuqing's expression became a little downcast. She said softly, "Then I'll go by myself. I don't need to bother you." Zhu Tian didn't dare to be careless. If I were to be promoted by his honor in the future, wouldn't I be making things difficult for myself? Humans were all like that, vengeful. It really isn't convenient for boss to see you right now. He still hasn't mentally prepared himself, Absolute Heaven explained. Qian Yuqing bit her lips and said firmly, "The reason I came here this time is to see Yi Hua." Hearing Qian Yuqing's resolute words, Lai Gu and Zhu Tian didn't know what to say as they looked at each other. Lai Gu hurriedly reported, "Your honor, something big happened." Right now, Yi Hua was currently resting with his eyes closed. Daoji was standing behind him and massaging him, while Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji were currently playing the zither for Yi Hua. However, Lai Gu's voice transmission appeared in Yi Hua's mind. "Don't tell me everything is a big deal. Didn't I teach you? Your honor, this is truly a huge matter. The number 1 madam is here." "What number 1 madam? What are you talking about? Believe it or not, I will stew you." "It's true. Your honor's ex-wife has arrived, and she is currently heading towards the imperial palace. Zhu Tian and I are following behind her." Yi Hua was startled and even Daoji, who was behind him, was startled. Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji stopped playing, and when they saw Yi Hua they seemed to be a bit panicked. "Stop them," Yi Hua said gravely. "Don't you understand human language? Stop him for me. Don't let her enter the palace." "Yes." Lai Gu had no other choice. "Of course, I have to listen to his honor." After cutting off the connection with Lai Gu, Yi Hua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up. "My little brother just left in the morning, and this inexplicable wife of mine came in the afternoon. I am very satisfied with my current life. I don't need anything else." "Yi Hua, what's wrong?" Xianxia asked concernedly. Yi Hua tightly wrinkled his brows, seemingly thinking whether or not I should tell them about this matter. Looking at Yi Hua's wrinkled brows, Dong Huang Baiji knew that it was a huge matter. If it wasn't a huge matter, Yi Hua wouldn't frown. What's wrong? Dong Huang Baiji asked tenderly. Yi Hua let out a breath. This matter is something that I will know about sooner or later, so I might as well tell them about it directly. The woman that my little brother was talking about is here. Following what Yi Hua said, both Xianxia and Dong Huang Baiji were startled and they didn't know what to say. This is too fast, right? However, thinking about it, if other people knew that Yi Hua didn't die, they would definitely rush over immediately. However, the problem right now was, what kind of attitude would Yi Hua have? This was what Xianxia and Dong Huang Baiji were worried about. Is he going to continue the relationship or is he going to have other thoughts? Looking at the bad side, he is going to continue the relationship. Xianxia and Dong Huang Baiji weren't saintesses, so how could they possibly accept other women? Qin Yutong was an exception. After all, they were already familiar with each other. However, this newcomer doesn't know anything, and for some reason she came to snatch away a man. Although Yi Hua had lost his memories in the past, in short, his heart still didn't feel good. Yi Hua, what do you plan to do? Xianxia asked in a low voice. Chase her away. Yi Hua said coldly. Sometimes a little bit of determination is required. Chase her away? Xianxia and Dong Huang Baiji didn't dare to believe this. This seems to be a bit too ruthless, right? Women are just so complicated. On one hand they are jealous, on the other hand they are pitiful, and on the other hand they are blaming Yi Hua for being too ruthless. This kind of matter should be sat down and properly discussed. After all, Lai Gu and Zhu Tian had received a serious mission, and that mission was to stop this former wife of yours. On the streets of Wushu Empire, everyone was looking at Qian Yuqing, and all of them were completely captivated by Qian Yuqing's appearance. As Qian Yuqing walked past, everyone's head moved from left to right, as if they were bewitched by Qian Yuqing's beauty. Wait a minute. Lai Gu hurriedly chased after Qian Yuqing. Zhu Tian, who was standing on top of Lai Gu's head, had a complicated look in his eyes. Qian Yuqing stopped her footsteps and asked curiously, "What's wrong?" "You can't go." Lai Gu opened up his arms. "Why?" Qian Yuqing slightly frowned and asked. Because. Lai Gu didn't know what to say. However, Zhu Tian said gravely, "Because his honor doesn't want to see you and he told us to stop you. Go back." The joy on Qian Yuqing's beautiful face gradually disappeared, and what replaced it was graveness. "Yi Hua said that?" Lai Gu nodded his head. "Then let him talk to me." Qian Yuqing's tone gradually became agitated. She felt just like a woman who was abandoned by a man, and her tone carried a bit of hidden bitterness. It was normal for Qian Yuqing to have such a reaction. After all, she had liked Yi Hua since she was young, and she had liked him for thousands of years. Right now, telling her that the man who had pledged his undying love to her in the past wanted to chase her away, and if she still didn't get angry, then she would really be a saintess. Zhu Tian explained, "This former wife, please be a bit more rational, don't be impulsive. Move aside." Right now, Qian Yuqing was no longer able to maintain her calm. "Right now, I just want to see Yi Hua and ask him face to face. Do you still want Yuqing or not? Are the words that you said in the past still counted?" Lai Gu stood there without moving. His meaning was a bit obvious: he is not letting you go. End of this chapter. Chapter 966. The people who were standing in the surroundings also noticed the abnormality. Everyone naturally knew about Lai Gu. After all, he was a man who loitered around the city wall every day. However, he actually got into a dispute with this woman. Just what is going on? Furthermore, from the looks of it, Lai Gu seems to be in a very difficult position. On the other hand, that woman had the upper hand. "How strange," Qian Yuqing said in a low voice. "Then try and touch me." Qian Yuqing was not an ordinary woman. Back then, not only was she the most beautiful woman in Spirit City, her talent was also not inferior to Yi Hua's. It was just that she did not display it. If she were to display it, she would not be inferior to Yi Hua. However, ever since Yi Hua went missing, Qian Yuqing had stopped cultivating. Even so, she was still an overlord. After finished speaking, Qian Yuqing left. Lai Gu didn't expect that this former madam would be so unyielding, but he was also afraid of bumping into this former madam. After all, this former madam is his honor's woman and I mustn't touch her. Qian Yuqing walked forward while Lai Gu retreated. Qian Yuqing's expression was very strange, as if he had eaten a fly. "Ex-madam, please calm down." "I'm not the ex-wife," Qian Yuqing shouted out. "When did I become an ex-madam?" If I want to become an ex-madam, Yihua has to come out and say it himself. When the surrounding people heard this conversation, their gossipy hearts were ignited and they all eavesdropped on them. This could be the secret history of the emperor. Love debts. It was very possible. Absolute heaven hurriedly called Luo Ho over, taking control of the situation. Soon, groups of yellow-armored warriors began to lock down the area. However, the news of his honor's ex-girlfriend coming to stir up trouble was immediately known by all of his honor's subordinates, and all of them were shocked. His honor's ex-girlfriend. Oh my God, let's hurry up and see who this deity is. Former madam, please don't leave anymore, if not I won't be polite anymore. Lai Gu began to threaten. This former madam seems to have the intention of slaughtering her way into the imperial palace. Qian Yuqing ignored him and said in a low voice, "You can try." Damn, his honor's ex-wife is so fierce. Lai Gu was just saying it with his mouth, and of course he didn't dare to use his full strength. If he were to break the crystal, what would he do if his honor were to blame him? Very quickly, Qian Yuqing arrived at the entrance of the imperial palace. Looking at the majestic imperial palace, Qian Yuqing knew that Yihua was inside. But now he wasn't even willing to come out and see her. Yihua, you weren't this cruel in the past. Lai Gu suddenly discovered that there seems to be a bit more guards standing at the entrance of the imperial palace. Damn, isn't that black-armored warrior Wei Chong? And that green and red brothers and that husky, are you serious about wearing that black armor? Since when did a dog wear black armor? Even his 3 wives have run out. You guys really don't want things to get out of hand. However, when his honor's subordinates saw Qian Yuqing, their gazes revealed a look of amazement. Even those women were the same as well. This appearance, as expected of his honor's ex-girlfriend, Qian Yuqing, can be said to be well-deserved. But his ex-girlfriend's expression didn't seem right. She was obviously here to cause trouble. Would the 2 madams be able to subdue them? Former madam, you really cannot leave anymore. Lai Gu said gravely. Qian Yuqing looked at the exquisite palace and said slowly, I want to see him. In the past, Qian Yuqing would always call Yihua as Yihua, but right now Qian Yuqing directly called Yihua as Yihua. Could be seen how angry he was. Lai Gu quickly asked his honor. Your honor, your ex-girlfriend has already arrived at the entrance of the imperial palace. What should we do? It seems like she is going to make a move on us. Make a move? Yihua asked puzzledly. Is this woman so fierce? Yes, your honor. Yihua said gravely, just chase her away. Lai Gu understood. His honor won't let her get injured, but I still have to chase her away. This is troublesome. How can I chase her away without getting injured? Should I just tie her up and bring her back? Qian Yuqing seemed to know that Lai Gu was transmitting his voice to Yihua and asked, What did your boss say? You better go back. Lai Gu said in a low voice. When Qian Yuqing heard what Lai Gu said, she found it hard to believe. I didn't expect that Yihua would still be so ruthless. No wonder little Tian said that Yihua had changed. But I'm really angry. So angry. Why can't you let me see you? Can't you even talk to me? Don't you know that your mother can't hold on anymore? Don't you know? Do I have to marry a person that I don't like just for your mother? Could it be that you don't care about all of these? Qian Yuqing, who was getting angrier the more she thought about it, began emitting out a strong duki. The white muslin clothes on her body fluttered even though there was no wind, and her pretty face was terrifyingly gloomy. Boom! The aura of an overlord was emitted out, and a white duki rushed into the sky from Qian Yuqing's body. Everyone in Wuxia Empire was able to see it. Even Yihua, who was sitting in the imperial palace, was able to see it. Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji were a bit absent-minded. This woman seems to be very crazy. At this moment, Xianxia said in a low voice, Yihua, let's go and take a look. Yihua closed his eyes and did not say anything. Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji didn't dare to persuade Yihua anymore. Right now, Yihua was already on the verge of getting angry. However, at the entrance of the imperial palace, the subordinates didn't dare to believe what they were seeing. This ex-girlfriend of his honor really likes to fight whenever she doesn't get along with him. However, if any woman were to encounter such a thing, they would have such a reaction. If the other party didn't have such a reaction, then it wouldn't be true love. After the white duki disappeared, the white muslin clothes on Qian Yuqing's body could be seen to have disappeared, and what replaced it was actually a set of silver armor. Furthermore, it was the kind that was wearing a helmet. Only her pitch-black hair was left floating in the air and she looked very fierce. The armor was emitting out a faint silver radiance, and the subordinates felt that the armor was an ancient artifact. Furthermore, the armor was not an ordinary ancient artifact. After all, Qian Yuqing was the pearl of Qian family. What kind of good things could she not have? It could be said that the degree of awesomeness of this Daoist armor was not inferior to that set of armor that Yi Zizi was wearing. One must know that all of Yi Hua's equipment were stolen from others and there were good and bad ones. Furthermore, the imperial killer that Qian Yuqing was holding in her hand was not an ordinary ancient artifact. It was a machete. Indeed, the machete looked like a machete. Being held in Qian Yuqing's hand, the machete did not seem to fit her temperament. However, this imperial killer was not an ancient artifact with an undeserved reputation. From its name alone, it could be seen that this machete was even capable of killing an emperor. Doesn't this mean that Qian Yuqing is prepared to kill an emperor? Could it be that she is going to perish together with Yi Hua, this heartless man? At the very least, from the subordinate's point of view, his honor's ex-girlfriend was starting to get serious. Wei Chong hurriedly protected the surroundings. If Shi Zun were to fight with his honor, I reckon that the entire Wushu Empire would have to pay their respects to her. Move aside. Qian Yuqing, who was fully armed, shouted out. The loud sound caused cracks to appear on the ground, and the cracks spread all the way to the walls. The cracks were just like Qian Yuqing's heart. Chapter 967. Right now Lai Gu's eyes shone. I definitely cannot afford to offend his honor's former wife, but who asked them to wear black armored warriors' clothes? Therefore Lai Gu shouted out angrily, Men, stop her for me. Lai Gu was also proud of himself. I didn't expect that there would be a day where I would be so smart. However, after waiting for a long time, Lai Gu still did not see anyone coming out. When he turned around, he found that those people were actually standing there without moving. He was so angry that he almost fainted. Were they just watching the show and not doing anything? Wei Chong wouldn't interfere. If he didn't do a good job, he would be scolded. Absolute Heaven, who was on top of the cracked bone, jumped away as well. He hid far away and watched from afar, not wanting to participate in the battle. Who knows if his honor was just saying those words out of anger or not? If we were to reconcile with each other in the future, if his honor continues to pursue the matter, I will definitely be scolded by his honor again. Right now Lai Gu actually wanted to cry. Why am I always the one who gets injured? Last time I indeed wanted to act cool, but this time it's not like that. It's her who suddenly appeared in front of me. If I had known earlier, I would have pretended not to see it. Do you want me to fight with my ex-wife now? I will say it one more time, move aside. Qian Yuqing raised the emperor killer in her hand and pointed it at Lai Gu. Lai Gu took a deep breath and took a defensive stance. Sorry. As subordinates, we have no choice. 2 streams of tears flowed down from Qian Yuqing's eyes as she shouted, Yi Hua, why are you so cruel to me? Boom. The Imperial Slayer released an enormous pressure. The blade shone with a golden light as Qian Yuqing, who had already gone berserk, stomped on the ground. A huge crater immediately appeared on the ground as Emperor Killer slashed towards Lai Gu. Before the blade even arrived, Lai Gu could already feel a sense of crisis. My former wife is really very strong. Even without his honor's help, she was still able to reach such a level of strength. I truly admire her. However, I, Lai Gu, am not someone to be trifled with. When I get angry, I won't even recognize my own family. Please don't look down on me, Lai Gu. I know how to crack bones too. The man who ran. Lai Gu could be seen turning around and running towards that group of shameless black armored warriors. Wei Chong and the others were all shouting at how shameless Lai Gu was. It was clearly you who had caused this trouble, and yet you are actually not caring about it anymore. Boom. The entire ground had collapsed. Fortunately, Wei Chong had sealed off this area. Otherwise, this blade would have affected the entire Voidless Empire. Even so, the entire Voidless Empire still trembled slightly. After all, the equipment on Qian Yuqing's body was no joke. Yi Hua looked at the teacup on the table. The teacup was currently moving slightly, and the water within the teacup was also trembling. At the very least, that was what Yi Hua thought. However, I, the Supreme Overlord, am not a man that you can meet whenever you want to. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji were no longer able to sit still. Not caring whether Yi Hua agreed or not, they immediately disappeared from the scene. Yi Hua did not stop the 2 women, and once again he picked up the teacup and took a sip. Qian Yuqing stood where she was. Her aura didn't drop. Instead, it continued to rise as if she was using a cheat. This caused all of his Honor's subordinates to be astonished. His Honor's ex-girlfriend is not an ordinary person. With this kind of strength, I'm afraid that her strength is already comparable to that of the 7 deadly sins. I'll say it again. Out of the way. Qian Yuqing pointed at her subordinates and shouted angrily. Originally, I thought that Yihua would be very happy to know that I am here, and I will also properly help Yihua recover his memories. As for your current wife, that is something that happened after she lost her memories. She can forgive you and I won't blame you. However, that was not the case at all. At this time, Wei Chong had no choice but to stand up. He cupped his hands and said, "Former madam, please calm down. I can't breathe." Qian Yuqing suddenly raised Emperor Killer up high. The dark clouds in the sky above Wuxia Empire gradually dispersed, and sunlight shone down. However, this sunlight didn't shine on the ground. Instead, it shone on the Imperial Slayer in Qian Yuqing's hand. Since he would rather hide inside, then don't blame me. Qian Yuqing shouted in a deep voice. The murderous emperor in her hand had already ignited with a golden flame. The brightness made people's eyes very uncomfortable. Sealing God extinguishing sun. Following Qian Yuqing's whisper, the Emperor Slayer in her hand turned into a 10,000 zhang long machete. F***ck, not to mention becoming a god, even a god would be scared ***. At the very least, this was the first time his subordinates had seen a primeval divine artifact grow to such a huge size. If this saber fell, the entire imperial palace would be destroyed. Wei Chong even sensed that when the regicide grew in size, it had pierced through the barrier he had set up. It had indeed been pierced. Everyone from Wuxia Empire saw the 10,000 zhang long machete, and all of them became stupefied. The blade of the machete had even pierced through the clouds. Even Yihua saw it, and with a slightly shocked expression on his face, he thought to himself, "This woman is truly formidable. However, she actually wants to kill me. She is truly thinking too much." Just as Qian Yuqing was about to descend the machete, Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji suddenly appeared at the scene. This caused Qian Yuqing's machete to stop. However, the machete had also descended in an arc, and this caused the sky to gradually turn red. It was as if the sky was being burned by fire. When the subordinates saw that the 2 madams had arrived, they hurriedly knelt down and shouted out, "Subordinates, greet the 2 madams." Qian Yuqing looked at Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji blankly. Are they Yihua's wives? These 2 women are so beautiful. No wonder Yihua doesn't want me anymore. It turns out that he found such beautiful women. Yihua, why are you treating Yuqing like this? For you, Yuqing is willing to give up everything, but why are you not even talking to Yuqing? Even now, you are still hiding at the back and not coming out. Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji looked at Qian Yuqing. Because Qian Yuqing was wearing a helmet, they were unable to see her appearance. You all can retreat first. Xianxia said faintly. Wei Chong, Lai Gu and the others let out a sigh of relief. It is best for this matter to be taken over by your wife. Subordinate obeys. Lai Gu immediately ran away. In the future I will not stand out anymore. Dou Fushi felt that it was still alright, but his big brother Lai Gu has recently become fond of standing out. After the subordinates left, only the 3 women remained at the scene. Yihua is very confused right now. Xianxia said lightly. Hearing what Xianxia said, the anger in Qian Yuqing's heart lessened by a lot. However, Qian Yuqing was still holding the Emperor Killer in her hand. Give him some time, he will think it through. Donghuang Baiji said. This woman is actually very pitiful. Donghuang Baiji experienced this kind of feeling. Back then Yihua also treated me like this. Back then when I came to look for Yihua while pregnant with a child, Yihua avoided me. Just how much pain did that make me feel? And this woman in front of me is also the same. Yihua is still hiding in the palace and not coming out. He is very heartless. Seeing that Qian Yuqing still hasn't let go of Emperor Killer, Donghuang Baiji said lightly, I understand your feelings very well. You don't understand. Qian Yuqing shouted out. Donghuang Baiji shook her head. Back then I was the same as you. I was also treated like this by Yihua. Back then I was even pregnant with a child. Hearing what Donghuang Baiji said, Qian Yuqing went into a daze for a moment, and her aura became chaotic. Xianxia, who was at the side, didn't interrupt. This woman's experience is indeed quite similar to Donghuang Baiji's. Chapter 968. You too have a child. Qian Yuqing's tone was filled with desolation. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji did not deny it and nodded their heads. Qian Yuqing immediately felt a sense of powerlessness and took a step back. Don't look at how it was just a small step. She immediately received a backlash. Blood could be seen flowing out from the gap of the helmet, and Qian Yuqing's aura became extremely weak. The towering murderous emperor returned to its original size. Qian Yuqing felt that her brain was buzzing. Yihua and I have a child. Thinking about it, isn't it normal for them to have a child after 1,000 years have passed? But, Yihua, you treat them so well, why are you so heartless to me? Qian Yuqing, who was angered, spat out another mouthful of blood, and the armor and imperial killer that she was wearing disappeared. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji saw Qian Yuqing's original appearance. Yihua's eyesight is always so high. But right now, this beautiful woman's face was filled with desolation. She looked very pitiful, as if she was abandoned by Yihua. Qingya had always been doted on by Yihua, so she did not experience that kind of feeling. However, Donghuang Baiji was able to experience that kind of feeling. For our words to be able to give her such a huge blow, it could be seen how important Yihua was in her heart. Donghuang Baiji felt that she was already very angry when she waited for Yihua for 3 years. But this woman actually waited for Yihua for 1,000 years. Just how much willpower does that require? Not every woman can be like her. Although the subordinates left, they were still peeking at the side. They realized that his honor's ex-girlfriend was indeed pitiful. Look at that pitiful look. Her originally beautiful face became pale and powerless, and blood flowed out from her lips. His honor is too ruthless, isn't he? No matter what, she is still his ex-girlfriend. It is only a big matter for him to come out and take a look. Qingya said softly, go and treat your injuries first. No need, call Yihua out. Qian Yuqing slightly bent her body. Her entire body was in pain. Donghuang Baiji said softly, Yihua still hasn't made up his mind. How about going and taking a rest first? I will wait here for him to think it through. Qian Yuqing raised her head slightly and looked at the palace. There was no joy in her eyes. She was a little disheartened. Donghuang Baiji consoled Donghuang Baiji. There are indeed some areas where Yihua did not do well. I have also said it just now. When I went to look for Yihua while pregnant with the child, he did not even take a single look at me, causing me to return home disheartened. During those few years I had been raising the child by myself, and Yihua had never cared about us. That's right. Give Yihua some time. This matter is too sudden for Yihua. Qingya felt that Qian Yuqing's current state was not very good, just like a person who should have fainted, but was forcefully holding on to that belief. Qian Yuqing didn't say anything. She stood in place and slowly straightened her back. The blood at the corner of her mouth flowed onto her pure white dress. It was very eye-catching. No one expected this woman to be so stubborn. He was a little worried. After all, he had just suffered a backlash and needed time to recuperate. Otherwise, it would be detrimental to his future cultivation. Wait a moment then. Qingya said lightly. Qingya decided to go and persuade Yihua again. Will it kill you to meet someone else? Donghuang Baiji felt the same way as well. Both of them are women with bitter lives, and Yihua should at least give them an explanation. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji disappeared from where they were once again. However, the yellow armored warrior sealed off all of the surrounding streets. After all, this was his honor's family matter and no one else could know about it. Yihua was still drinking tea, just that there were a lot more cigarette butts by his feet. Very quickly, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji's figures appeared. Without waiting for the two women to speak, Yihua said faintly, "What are we going to eat tonight?" Ask the blood demon to make a braised eggplant pot. I felt that it was pretty good the last time I ate it. Yihua, don't talk about what we are going to eat first. Do you really not want to go and take a look that much? Qingya asked in a low voice. This was not Yihua's style. Yihua said faintly, didn't the two of you go and take a look for me? I have already said what happened in the past very clearly. I don't want to repeat it again. Daji, let's go and eat. Yihua stood up and said faintly. Daji said respectfully, all right, master. Looking at Yihua's determined back view, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji felt a little sad. Although I don't want others to interfere in my marriage, Yihua is too ruthless towards that woman. No matter what, taking a look at her isn't a big deal. Donghuang Baiji recalled what happened in the past, and even now she is still a little jealous. Yihua is too ruthless towards me. Xianxia is still the best. I am doted on from the beginning to the end. However, what should I do now? That person is still standing at the entrance of the palace waiting for me. Am I supposed to continue waiting like this? After all, Wushu Empire's weather isn't very good and it is a bit cold. Qian Yuqing had just suffered from a backlash, and her body was wearing very thin clothes. Without the protection of Duqi, she would definitely be corroded. She would definitely be sick, but when the time comes, it would be even more troublesome for her to recover. What should I do? Dong Huang Baiji couldn't make up her mind. I will go and take some medicine and send it over first. Don't let anything happen. Xianxia said gravely. And I will go and persuade Yihua again. All right. Xianxia took the medicine and went out, but Qian Yuqing didn't need it at all. She just stood there and looked at the entrance of the palace. However, she also wanted Xianxia to pass on a message to Yihua. She, Qian Yuqing, will be Yihua's woman in this life, and if Yihua doesn't want her anymore, then let her directly fall into her next life. Her meaning was very clear. Since Yihua doesn't want her anymore, then I will kill him. If that's the case, I, Qian Yuqing, will not have a single trace of hope, and I will treat everything that happened in the past as a dream. Xianxia felt that this matter was a bit thorny. One must know that Yihua hates being threatened the most, and this will only deepen the conflict between them. Xianxia didn't dare to tell Yihua what she said, because she was afraid that Yihua would really kill her. Late at night, the temperature of Wushu Empire dropped, and the cold wind howled outside. At the entrance of the palace, a lonely and destitute figure stood at the entrance of the palace. That slim figure seemed so weak and frail. Yihua's subordinates couldn't bear to watch this anymore, especially the women. They felt that his honor was too ruthless this time. We have to do something, Sun Fong said in a low voice. Tang Wei, Zishan, and Li Hun could be seen standing beside Yihua. Hearing what Sun Fong said, the other three women let out a light sigh. Isn't it all up to his honor to decide what to do? How about we go and beg his honor? Tang Wei suggested. Zishan shook her head. It was useless even when your wife begged for leniency. Do you think that it would be useful for us to beg for leniency? At this moment, Li Hun's expression became grave. His honor doesn't like this kind of threat. It is better for us to think of other ways. I feel that his honor's ex-girlfriend won't be able to hold on for more than a few days. She is getting weaker and weaker. Zishan said gravely. Qian Yuqing indeed wouldn't be able to hold on for more than a few days, and it was already a miracle that she was still able to stand after suffering such a backlash. Chapter 969. But right now it was no different from burning her lifespan. But to Qian Yuqing she had to hear Yihua's explanation. If she couldn't hear it, she would rather die here. Just like what she said to Yihua, if Qian Yuqing were to die one day, she wanted to die in his arms. Even if she died, it would be a very comfortable thing. Qian Yuqing could still remember what Yihua said. I won't allow you to die. Right now Yihua was enjoying a sumptuous dinner. Blood Demon's culinary skills were top-notch. Right now Yihua felt that in the entire team, Blood Demon's contribution was rather admirable. At the very least he took good care of my taste buds. Daji stood at the side and served Yihua. Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji were eating carelessly, and worry could be seen on their faces. Yihua acted as if nothing had happened and continued eating. Right now, Donghuang Baiji couldn't take it anymore and asked, Yihua, do you remember that time when I went to look for you, you avoided me? I remember. Yihua said faintly. Then do you know how I felt back then? Donghuang Baiji asked back. Yihua said faintly while eating potato shreds. Isn't that all in the past? Our current life is quite good. But Qian Yuqing has been waiting for you for a long time too. Bang. Yihua's expression turned cold. He slammed the table and the table instantly shattered into pieces. Daji, who was standing behind Yihua, was startled. Master's temper is way too big, right? This is the first time I saw Master get so angry. Not only Daji, even Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji felt the same. In the past, when Yihua got angry, he would at most just talk to them and then ignore them. After a few days he would come back to coax them. But today he actually smashed the table into pieces. Xianxia and Donghuang Baiji were truly frightened and sat on the chair blankly. The atmosphere became heavy. Yihua stood up and said coldly, Don't mention the past in the future. The two of you better remember this clearly. After finished speaking, Yihua walked out. Daji looked at the two madams and her eyes turned red. However, she had no choice but to quickly chase after Yihua. How could Qingya and Donghuang Baiji not feel wronged? We were clearly thinking for you wholeheartedly, but in the end, you didn't appreciate it and even scared us. We are your wives, not your punching bags. Yihua didn't return to his bedroom and instead he went to Wei Chang's palace. Your Honor. When Wei Chang saw that his honor had come up with a black face, he knew that things weren't going as he wished and hurriedly kneeled down and kowtowed. It was the same for Tang Wei. Vixum. Yihua said faintly, then walked to the pavilion at the side. Wei Chang looked at Tang Wei and said in a low voice, "Go get some wine and stir-fry a few side dishes. Please don't beg for mercy." "I know." Tang Wei said cautiously and hurriedly went to prepare. Wei Chang walked into the pavilion with his body bent, and stood beside Yihua without saying a word. "Take a seat." "Thank you, Your Honor," Wei Chang said respectfully as he sat on the left side of Yihua. Yihua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up, then slowly puffed out the smoke. "Wei Chang, how long have we known each other?" Yihua asked indifferently. Wei Chang went into a daze for a moment, then said in a low voice, "Your Honor, we have known each other for 1011 years. That's right, it has already been more than 1,000 years. Time sure passes quickly. Do you remember how we got to know each other back then?" Yihua sighed and said slowly. "How could Wei Chang possibly forget about that?" He replied, "Back then I was massacring my own clansmen, and it was Your Honor who appeared and defeated me. Do you know why I wanted to beat you up?" Subordinate does not know. "Because I like your vicious methods," Yihua said coldly, and a vicious aura was emitting out from his entire body. Wei Chang didn't say anything and chose to listen quietly. At this moment Tang Wei walked over with the wine and said respectfully, "Your Honor, I will go and stir-fry a few side dishes." "No need, bring some peanuts over," Yihua said indifferently. "Yes." Very quickly Tang Wei brought some peanuts over. "Daji, you go and rest." Daji, who was standing at the side, went into a daze for a moment, then responded and left. Only Yihua and Wei Chang were left at the scene. Yihua poured a cup of wine for himself, then picked up the wine pot and poured a cup of wine for Wei Chang. Wei Chang held onto the wine cup with both of his hands in fear. "For his honor to personally pour wine for me, this is a great honor." Yihua raised the wine cup, and Wei Chang lightly clinked the wine cup with both of his hands. Yihua gulped down the wine cup and Wei Chang did the same as well. "Do you like your previous life or your current life?" Yihua looked at the full moon in the sky. "The moon is very bright. Yet I feel a little confused. I'm even starting to doubt if what I've done all these years is right or wrong, and if I have been too benevolent toward my enemies. I feel that I don't even care about my hatred anymore. I have always been playing around and I have never treated my life seriously. I'm even playing around with my empire." Wei Chang slightly wrinkled his brows. "His Honor is asking me a question again. I have to answer carefully. It is fortunate that I drew the main points back then. I knew that it would be a test. Your Honor, my previous life has the taste of my previous life and my current life has the happiness of my current life. If subordinate was to choose, the life in my previous life was for the sake of massacring and the life in my current life is for the sake of love." "Love?" Yihua murmured. Wei Chang nodded his head. "In the past, we didn't understand why those people would sacrifice themselves for each other. Back then we all felt that those people were all idiots, but only after understanding them would we know that those people are willing to sacrifice themselves for each other. This is a kind of feeling that we are unable to obtain, but right now, we all have this kind of feeling." After hearing that, Yihua laughed lightly. "Perhaps I shouldn't have let you all experience it, and I don't need to experience it either. Sometimes love can be a burden and also a weakness. However, if there is no love in life, life would be incomplete," Wei Chang said lightly. Yihua extinguished the cigarette but then lit up another cigarette. "Wei Chang, when you kill your own kind, how do you feel? Is Your Honor talking about the feeling back then or the feeling right now? Tell me about both." "Back then I didn't feel anything, but right now I feel a bit uncomfortable in my heart," Wei Chang said lightly. The reason why he killed his own kind was actually very simple. Wei Chang wanted to become unique. "What do you think about kinship?" Wei Chang's heart sunk. This should be the most crucial question tonight. Wei Chang didn't dare to be careless. "Whether or not I am able to persuade His Honor will depend on me. Humans often say that among all virtues, filial piety is the most important. From this, it can be seen how much humans value kinship. From the past, when we kill the young, the old would come, and when we kill the old, an even older one would come. Even though we know that we are sending ourselves to death, we still came. This is kinship, right? How could Yihua not remember? It wasn't like something like this hadn't happened before back then, he could still remember it even now. Wei Chang, what do you think I should do now? Yihua, who was at a loss, asked lightly. Chapter 970. Wei Chang immediately bowed down and said fearfully, Your Honor, subordinate doesn't dare to teach Your Honor what to do, but Your Honor can do something based on your own inner heart. Inner heart. If I knew, I wouldn't have come here. Yihua laughed lightly, but more of it seemed like he was laughing at himself. Wei Chang's eyes suddenly lit up. Your Honor, subordinate has an idea that can solve Your Honor's problem. Say it. All right, subordinate hopes that Your Honor can answer me immediately. Wei Chang said respectfully. Right, I promise you. Wei Chang paused for a moment, then asked, Does Your Honor love Your Honor's wife? Yes. Yihua said without stopping. Does Your Honor love young Honor and the others? Wei Chang's tone gradually became faster. Yes. Does Your Honor want to take revenge? Yes. Does Your Honor want to go and see your family? Yes. At this moment, time seemed to have stopped. Wei Chang looked at his Honor and discovered that his Honor's expression had become distorted. The cigarette that was on the tip of Wei Chang's finger broke. Subordinate knows his mistake. Wei Chang hurriedly bowed down and admitted his mistake. Yihua slowly closed his eyes, stood up, and walked out of the pavilion without saying anything. Wei Chang looked at his Honor's back view. This is the first time I saw his Honor being so confused, losing his own opinion, losing courage. At this moment, Tang Wei quickly ran over and helped Wei Chang up. Uncle Wei, how is it? Tang Wei asked worriedly. Wei Chang shook his head. I don't know. Tang Wei lightly bit onto her lips. After walking out of Wei Chang's palace, Yihua walked into the palace. I actually wanted to go, but why did I want to go? To find out the truth of the matter? Or to see what his birth mother looks like? Are all these important? Are all these very important to me? Yihua's heart returned to normal. Very important. Unknowingly, Yihua arrived at the entrance of the palace. The two huge doors were closed. The black armored warrior who was standing guard inside immediately bowed down and kowtowed. Yihua stood behind the door, and the huge door in front of him became blurry and soon became transparent. Qian Yuqing's figure appeared in front of Yihua. When Yihua saw the stubborn expression on this woman's face, Yihua's gaze became heavy. She was indeed very beautiful, but right now her beauty had a sickly look to it, and there was still a trace of bloodstain at the corner of her mouth. She looked at the palace with a glimmer of hope, as if she was looking forward to something. Suddenly, Yihua noticed that the other party's gaze was gradually moving downwards. They were separated by two giant doors, but their eyes met. This glance caused Yihua's heart to skip a beat, and Yihua moved his gaze away reflexively. Such an action caused Yihua to be a bit puzzled. Why would I have such a thought? Guilt? How could I, the Supreme Overlord, possibly have feelings of guilt? Why should I feel guilty towards the things that I, the Supreme Overlord, have done? At this moment, goose feather-like snowflakes suddenly floated down from the sky. Qian Yuqing looked at the two giant doors. In that instant, a familiar feeling surged into her heart. Yihua, is that you? Qian Yuqing asked with a trembling voice. However, her voice was so weak that only she could hear it. However, to Yihua, how could he not hear it? This voice indeed gave me a familiar feeling, as if it was guiding me to find the way back home. Yihua didn't say anything and looked at Qian Yuqing, who was outside. Qian Yuqing took a step forward, and blood immediately flowed out from the corner of her mouth. Her body suddenly fell onto the ground. Seeing that Qian Yuqing fell onto the ground, Yihua's finger trembled a bit. It seemed like he wanted to help this woman up, but in the end he didn't do so. It would have been fine if Qian Yuqing didn't move, but that move just now had instantly caused the injuries within her body to become chaotic. However, Qian Yuqing didn't care about all of that at all. Her beautiful eyes stared fixedly at the closed palace door. Yihua is right behind me. She might be able to sense it. In the end, Yihua still came to see me. Yihua didn't abandon me. Right now the snowflakes were slowly falling onto the ground. When the snowflakes fell onto Qian Yuqing's body, a layer of white frost quickly appeared on Qian Yuqing's beautiful black hair. However, from Qian Yuqing's position to the palace door, it was only around 20 meters away. However, to the current Qian Yuqing, Every single movement was extremely painful. Blood flowed out from her mouth unceasingly, and it was only 10 meters away. Even after suffering such pain, Xianxia didn't give up. Her beautiful eyes were filled with unswerving determination. His elbows were moving slightly as he dragged his injured body. Yihua stood behind the palace door and looked at Xianxia crawling slowly, and the blood that flowed out from the corner of her mouth. All of this seemed so ghastly. Yihua's chest began to undulate up and down, and his breathing became hurried. The sparkling and translucent snowflakes covered the long bloodstain, and Xianxia finally touched the palace door. Because she used too much strength, the skin on her slender fingers was broken, revealing her tender flesh. Just like that, her hand lightly touched the palace door. After that, she used all of her strength to support her exhausted body up and leaned against the palace door. Her breathing was very hurried. Yihua, who was standing behind the palace door, lowered his head and looked at Xianxia. Why is she so persistent? Doesn't she know that she will die like this? Could it be that she just wants to see me? Is it worth it? Yihua. Xianxia called out lightly, her tone revealed a trace of death. To her, crawling just now was a second injury. All of her subordinates originally guessed that she wouldn't be able to last more than a few days, but now she might not even need a few days. Being able to feel your existence, Yuqing is already very happy. Xianxia leaned against the cold palace door and said lightly. Her pair of beautiful eyes seemed like they couldn't open anymore. Yuqing knew that you wouldn't die just like that. You must be in some corner. Today Yuqing finally found you. But you don't remember Yuqing anymore. Yuqing is very sad, really very sad. But Yihua, you still came to see Yuqing. You are still the same as before, with a sharp mouth but a soft heart. Do you think that I don't know that you are hiding behind the door? You idiot, did you forget that you always made Yuqing angry in the past? You even made Yuqing cry a few times, but Yuqing knew that you always stood behind the door and didn't dare to come in. Yihua listened silently. It seemed like he was trying hard to remember, but he couldn't remember. Today Yuqing's tears are happy. Knowing that you, Yihua, didn't die means that Yuqing didn't waste her efforts all these years. Everything is worth it. Yihua, in the future, Yuqing won't be able to take care of mother anymore. Little Tian is being pushed aside everywhere. As the big brother, Yuqing still hopes that you can go back and take a look and fulfill mother's wish. Xianxu's tender and beautiful lips gradually turned pale, and her eyes suddenly brightened up. She raised her head and looked at the snow that filled the sky. Yihua, it's snowing here. It's so beautiful, but it's so cold. Yuqing is so cold, so cold. Xianxu's beautiful eyes that were originally bright gradually dimmed down. The snow that filled the sky landed on Xianxu's body. Yihua, do you still remember what Yuqing said before? Even if I die, I want to die in your embrace. That way it should be very comfortable, very warm. After Xianxu finished speaking, a trace of an arc appeared on the corner of her mouth, and she felt as if she was being hugged by Yihua.